I want you to start by telling us, how did you think about starting Marketing Africa? What was the inspiration behind it? And what is Marketing Africa all about as a company?
When I was at the university, we had a publication. It was called the Marketing Review. And we were able to publish that magazine and get 18 full-page adverts at that time, which was a first. I've never seen it up to today.
Lord, I have something to say. I keep on searching for meaning in everything I'm doing. They say you listen to everything we say. That's why I'm calling and asking for you to lead the way. Yeah. I'll keep on walking, keep on walking. Please, Lord, lead the way. Let the children sing now, yeah. Keep on walking, please lead the way. Yeah, I'll follow. And I'll follow. And I will follow. I'll follow. Lord, sometimes I get afraid. Then I remember what the scripture said. They say you listen to everything we say. And that's why, Lord, and now I'm calling and asking for you to lead the way. Yeah. So I'll keep on walking, Lord, lead the way. Yeah, I keep on walking, Lord, lead the way. Yeah, and I'll follow. I'll follow. I will follow. I will follow. Yesu, mkwano wange. Yesu, tata wange. Yesu, subi yange. Kamugoberere, whoa. Keep on walking, Lord, lead the way. Keep on walking, please, Lord, lead the way, yeah. And you know that I will follow, yeah. Oh, I will follow. I will follow you, Lord, yeah. I will follow. sing, let the children sing, yeah, yeah, yeah. Keep on walking, keep on walking. I will follow. I will follow you, Lord, yeah. I will follow you, Lord, yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. Kakubere means follow you. And I will follow you, oh Lord. I will follow.
I want you to start by telling us, how did you think about starting Marketing Africa? What was the inspiration behind it? And what is Marketing Africa all about as a company?
When I was at the university, we had a publication. It was called the Marketing Review. And we were able to publish that magazine and get 18 full-page adverts at that time, which was a first. I've never seen it up to today.
How did you, as a child, if you visibly remember, what did you want to be in life?
Well, if I go back, I think I looked at two things as a child. I thought about, I looked up to the skies and I'd see the stars and, see the airplanes flying over. And as I was there, with my dad, looking after the cows, or with my grandma going fishing, or with my grandpa farming, I'd look up and go, wow, what are those things up there? And then someone told me, that's a space station. Go, okay, interesting. And what else is up there? Well, those are stars, and those are airplanes. So I thought, well, it would be great, to figure out how those things work. Yeah. And so I guess that was one interesting, passion of mine as a little kid, figuring out how aerospace vehicles work. And I guess that wasn't, something which excited me a lot.
Wow. You said the two things. So how did you end up there? You were fishing with your grandmother, you mentioned, and farming with your father, and grazing with your grandfather. Why were you not able to pick one of these from these, three different distinct people, and then you ended up in the things that are up in the sky with all this interest? What was the motivation like? Was somebody an aerospace engineer? Was somebody thinking about the things up, or it just came to you?
It's, back then, we didn't have Wi-Fi. We didn't have mobile phones. We didn't even have phones, yes. Or television. We just had nature, and that was great, And we had stories around the campfire, around the hearth every evening. Yeah. We'd sit down and talk to each other. We lived quite close to national parks, so every now and again a lion would hop over and grab a cow and go and have supper as well. So we shared with the lion. So it was being at one with nature. Yeah. But what's important in all that was allowing one's mind to imagine, allowing one's mind to run, to fly, to really go as far as one's mind could possibly go. Yeah. And if I think of looking at things from the space going down, I could still look down and figure out what's going on, on the fishing side. I could look at what's going on the farming side. I could look at what's going on the grazing side, because when you're up there, you can see everything. Yeah. But it also helps you appreciate how special the earth is. Yeah. And yeah, so I'm most grateful for that natural environment, that any kid in a rural village in Uganda or any other part of Africa right now has that, where you see every star. And I believe there is something special about that.
You see, it's like a ship. You just talked about a ship. A ship without a compass in an ocean or in a lake will go anywhere. It has no sense of direction, no timing of where it's going and when it will get there or whatever. Leadership begins as a personal thing. The reason why we have a society that is getting messed up with so many things happening and we're seeing corruption happening is because leadership is failing from a personal level. You are corrupt as an individual and you pride in it because you're gaining more. You go home, your children are seeing that and thinking that is the way of life. Community and society is saying, this guy is a good guy, he's a rich guy, he's the man of society. And society is now beginning to agree to that being a norm. That's not where the problem starts. So let's just go back to your question. Leadership begins from your personal compass, your true north. Why are you on earth? What's your purpose? When you walk out of here, how do you impact on people? Or how do you want people to remember you? You know, nowadays people are dying and all people can say is, you know, we had a good time with that guy, but beyond that, what next? And then you find the same people coming to bury you, then after that they even actually have a drink up after that and life goes on. You'll never be remembered. But just think about this, and let me just give you a simple example of Mother Teresa. Mother Teresa was a 4-foot lady, very short lady. She was a teacher. You know, people think teachers have no impact. She was a teacher. On her way to school to teach, she was so disturbed by the number of young children who were hungry on the streets, having no sense of direction. One day, she just woke up, went to the principal and said, you know what? Kalas, I'm done. I am going to feed the children of the world. The principal laughed. He said, you small woman, first of all, what money do you have? You think feeding the world is? But when you think of Mother Teresa today, what do you think of? The woman who tried to feed the world. Her mission still exists way beyond her. Going back to the same principle of people. People and purpose. And you see, purpose cannot be from outside or without. You know, you don't tell me that this is your purpose or toa. No, it comes from within. And you know, leaders are very crazy people. Yeah? You know, it's the same Museveni who read a newspaper and he got pissed off and went and, you know, on the streets and went and joined the bush. Yeah. They talk about people like Fidel Castro and all these people who... Leaders are people who just get angry with what is happening and make a commitment to make a difference.
Welcome to the CEO Bench. My name is Eddie Okila, and of course, coming back from the holiday breaks, how are you guys doing? How is everyone doing? Is your CEO back in office? They're supposed to be back on the 15th of January or around about the end of January, okay? And of course, we took a break with them for the Easter, rather the Christmas holidays and the happy holidays. Everyone welcoming you all the way from the 2021, the year that was very tough, to the new year 2022. My guest returning on the show today for the very first time 2022 is the man who has been around the e-commerce, you know, and of course, you know, computer science and technology and all these things we talk about. He's been in that space for some time. He's a man known to many of you across. He's the representative or the team leader for Flutterwave Inc. in East Africa. Nielsen,
yes.
Welcome to the show today.
Thank you so much. Thank you so
yes,
much.
I'd even forgotten to pronounce your name.
You are too busy.
Yes.
Too ambitious.
No, because I'm trying to look for the name. That's how far and how long it has been. Yes.
I know. Happy to be here.
Happy to see you
It's
too.
been a long time coming, but
yeah, sure.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of you know, requests to bring the young CEO on the show, and we said yes. we will definitely look for him. And I think the time when the nominations came, we were going for holidays.
Right.
And we decided we'll wait for the holiday to end and then bring you on.
Awesome.
Well, we're happy to have you here. How's the family? How's work and everybody else?
Awesome.
Great.
Yes.
We're going to dive into our interview very quickly. The CEO Bench is a program that focuses on young leaders or old leaders or people who are in the position of leadership or climbing into position of leadership. We want to share the nuggets of truth about the journey of self-leadership into that position or into that space.
Right.
And how has it been? Has it been easy? I mean, people just see sometimes CEOs on the streets and on television or wherever they have been, and they think that it's easier to get there. Right. But some of them are going by the baptism of fire. We think that you are not different from them, that there could be some really serious fire going on in your life.
Yeah.
And we want to share it out. So we'll start from a lighter note by just getting to know you. So who is Nelson Msango? Are you Ugandan? If yes, what are the values that define you as Ugandan? Yes, and how did you end up in this space?
So my name is Neil Msango. Ugandan, pure Ugandan, 100% Ugandan. Born and bred in this country, but with a passion for technology. Of course, the first core value for me is fear of God. I really love God, and everything I do, He has to manifest. And because of God, it's excellence. And that's how in everything I do, I really try to give it my very best. I believe that everyone is built with something inside of them that they can refine and bring out to the very best. And so that was my journey. Fell in love with technology at a young age. Was blessed to have parents, Ugandan parents, who allowed me to explore that journey. Very important, So my mother, allowed me really to explore my passion, and I just dived in. And when I was diving in on that journey, I realized that there is no one who has gone. Few guys have gone before us, and so it called us for a trailblazer, someone to go and make a path where there has been no path. And throughout that entire time, learning of how I can make myself better, because it's important. Every year, when the year is beginning, people make resolutions, and normally it's it's regarding other people, they are competing. But myself, it's every year, how do I become better? How do I become better? And never ever set out to actually be a leader, but leaders. For me, I like saying that cometh the hour, cometh the man. Right? In a space where no one is taking that step to go ahead. And you're willing to dive into that kind of self-education, then I end up becoming, whenever I'd be in a circle, I'd be elected and chosen to lead. And when you're leading people, you have to know. So there's automatically sitting on a hot seat. So just went on that journey of learning beyond technical skills, just learning how to lead people, how to manage people, how to strategize, how to get a vision, how to look forward beyond just look beyond yourself as a leader. And throughout that journey, reached where I am today. Quite interesting.
Well, I want to take a moment to welcome you guys to the show. We're live on Twitter, on Facebook, and YouTube. You can go there, share far and wide, and be part of this conversation. I promise you this is going to be a good ride for you. And of course, if you have a neighbor who is interested in growing in the technology space to become like Neil Msango, that's a place for you to be right now. Neil?
Yes.
Well, let's start from that point. You've talked about leadership,
right,
and I want to just know from you, what is your understanding of leadership?
Right. It's an interesting question, right? And like I said, I think I made something, subtle hint that, I always believed initially when I was growing up that leaders were born. Now, I believe that people are born with some qualities of leadership, but leaders are actually, they're made. And so leadership for me is being able to take that step, right? To go to a place where people have not been, so that you can go there, learn, come back, and then take people there. So, that means that to be a leader, you must have people who are following you. So you can't lead. You know what I'm saying? Some of the things that I've learned recently, over the years, really noticing is that for you to be a leader, people must be following you. And so leader for me is going to a place and then learning how to get there, and then coming and taking people along that journey to that place. But then the thing is that as you go to that place and take people there, when people are, you must be able to go to another place. So it's developing yourself to learn to see those places, go to those places, and then take people to those places.
Okay.
And then becoming as well.
Wow.
Yeah. So you must be following someone, and you must have people who are following you as well. Yeah.
Wow. And that's a very interesting perspective right there, Neil. We are looking at today on the show with you. We're definitely going to be looking at the leaders' transformative leadership approach.
Right.
And of course, we're looking at the leadership abilities, which are often what we look for to determine the level of effectiveness of a leader.
Right.
What is your level of effectiveness? Is it correlated to your leadership abilities?
Right.
I mean, if you don't have a certain ability, then you can't lead self.
Right.
So on that note, are you a leader?
I am. 100%.
Yes. And what kind of a leader do you think you are?
And this is a question that has been going through my mind in the past years, because you get to a level, and I know Eddie because we're personal friends. I know that you've been in that space and we've had these conversations, but throughout life you get to a level where it stops becoming about you.
Okay.
Right. And at that level is then when many people realize that, and some don't, and the thing is, when you reach that level where it stops becoming about you, the purpose of what you're doing grows beyond self, right? And that's the point where now innately you're built to be in that place of leadership. Now, the thing which also is clear to me as I tell you what kind of leader I am is, for me, the key thing for me in everything I do in my leadership is the people I lead. And so I like to refer to myself as an empathetic leader.
Okay.
So it's, again, understanding.
Empathetic leader.
Yes. It's understanding the kind of people I am leading, whatever space, seeing how I can bring value to them, and then picking from them what I can learn for myself, and then using those learnings to help them go on that journey to go to the place where I go.
Well, again, we're talking to Nelson Sango, and of course, our topic of discussion today, we're going to be looking into the leadership, transformative leadership in the e-commerce space in Uganda and across East Africa. He is the lead for Flutterwave Inc. in East Africa, and of course, Flutterwave is an e-commerce platform that allows business to trade and to transact and to transfer payment from one end to the next end. If you're in goods and services or in trade, that's the place to be. And talking of that, Neil, you have defined leadership and you've talked about what leadership is to you and the type of leader you are.
Yeah.
What is self-leadership to you? A lot of us out there don't know what self-leadership is. You ask the person, says, I don't know how to lead myself to get myself to this point. What is self-leadership to you? And how can you actually, define it for somebody who doesn't know, given the fact that you have been walking this journey to where we are now?
Right. And I think that's a key question, right? Which many leaders don't ever ask themselves, right? Because sometimes people end up being in places of leadership positions, but they're actually not leaders.
True.
And for me, what I believe is that to lead others to a place where you want them to be, you must have gone there yourself. And so self-leadership for me becomes then, what does it take for you as an individual to get to the place where you want to be? And those things, it's a big part of it is reflection. Knowing thyself, right? I think that was in the Art of War. You have to know thyself, right? And so it's to look at yourself from end to end, A to Z, and figuring out who am I, what am I good at, extremely good at, what am I not good at, what do I need to do to make sure that the things I'm good at I become even better, and the things that I'm not good at, what do I need to do today to make sure that I become better at those things? Who do I need around me? Who do I need to, where do I need to move from in terms of spaces and circles? Who are the people who have the qualities that I want to have? How do I go to connect and interface with those people? And that's a big part of it is being mentored, right? And so it's just knowing exactly where you are, being self-aware really of where you are at any given point in time, and then doing the things. Because it's one thing to know, and I tell you, it's a thing to do. Yes, I tell you, I was telling a couple of young people who I lead, over the weekend that look, it's one thing to know what to do. That's the first step. The biggest thing is then to do what you know how to do. Wow.
That's a big challenge right there, which many of us struggle with. Neil, I want to take you a little bit just back,
right?
To as a child,
right?
How did you end up in ICT,
right.
And was any of your parents into this space,
Right.
or an uncle, somebody will always say, where did you pick your inspiration from? And going through school and getting to this, did you always see that this is where I'm going to end up?
Right.
Yeah, we just want to know that bit, because it connects to self-leadership that we're
Right,
talking about.
right,
I mean,
right,
if you're able to pick yourself from point A to point B,
Right.
chances are we're going to find you in point Y,
Yeah.
at the later stage in life.
Yeah.
And that is because there's been certain level of motivation towards that. So would you share that?
Yeah. So, growing up, I'm a middle child, so number 2 of 3. And I believe greatly that also, harnessed my skills of being a leader, because then over the time the middle child is forgotten.
Yeah.
So, there's the firstborn who is the firstborn, then there's the baby who's the baby,
lastborn,
then there's the middle child. But also because of that, you're able to be a mediator, because the firstborn is the leader who is born leadership, and the baby is fighting for that power.
Yes.
And so you have to learn to manage people.
Yeah.
But going to the ICT question, I remember my father, he came back from one of his trips with a computer, desktop computer, and with a couple of books.
Yeah.
But no one knew how to use it.
Yeah.
Not himself, not the people at his office.
Yeah.
And so I just began to pick up those books. My dream initially was to be a pilot. And it's just that
We share the dream, though.
That's good. No doubt you have
we share the dream. And I still want to become one.
Same
at some
to me,
point.
and yesterday, when we
Yeah.
have a mastermind we're doing,
Yeah.
faith-driven entrepreneurship,
Yeah.
and I was sharing, look, that I still have to fly a plane.
Yes.
It's only because during our days, Eddie,
Yes.
it was hard to get a scholarship to go to flying school,
Yes,
and so
yes.
my dream, then began to transform into technology. I got that computer, immersed myself in that computer. Again, realizing early that, because no one knew how to work that computer, if I knew how to work that computer, I'd be ahead. And so then my hours were spent at that machine, learning, and then coming back to teach people.
Yes.
And I think, looking back now, it's those things of being, having the first movers advantage that began to show me that, look, in life, if you're able to take a step ahead of where everyone is thinking, you'll be ahead. And once you're ahead, then people have to ask you how you did it.
Yeah.
And then you have to now learn how to teach people how you did it.
Yeah.
Right. And then I began to, I remember, just looking at material around, what does it take to be a president? Yeah. What does it take to be a CEO of a company? What do you need to know? Because at some point, there's a point where I knew technical skill.
Yes.
And then I just hated people, and it's a common thing in my field, right? That there are many techies, right? They just don't know how to deal with human beings, And so I realized, look, if I can figure out how to deal with human beings and computers, I will definitely be able to lead this bunch of gigs.
Yes. And that's a very complex situation right there you talked about, because many people in the tech space usually lock themselves off from so many other people.
Exactly.
You call them, they say, I prefer text messages rather than the phone call. Because they don't want to talk to people. They don't want to interact. So to see you move from that space to a space of leading people and becoming the lead for East Africa, that's 5 countries that you're moving into. I mean, it's not something that one would take it for granted. I mean, would want to learn from you. How was this man able to move out? We've brought tech people here on the program, and I think only you and Elijah Chitaka has been able to express yourself beyond, the talk. And of course, Adrian Kamoga was here as well, to be able to. So there are very few people who have been able to push themselves out of that comfort zone of tech. That said, Neil, a very fascinating journey. First of all, learning your father's computer and be able to teach everyone in the house. I can imagine you became a superstar and you took over some people's position in the family. Before we take a break, I want to ask you a question on the one thing. We look at the deliberate identification and implementation of necessary changes within self. What is your understanding of change management?
Man, this topic has become so important in the world, right? In the past years, as you can imagine, because of, again, the pandemic, right? And, for me, change management is just being able, right? So, first of all, the first thing we must understand about this is that change is a fact of life. Now, whether it happens fast or slow, these are just variables, but we must always be changing. And as a leader or as a member of an organization, you have to understand that this is going to happen at some point. So as someone who's in an organization, you have to know that, look, change is coming at some point, whether sooner or later. As a leader, you then have the added responsibility of being responsible for that change. And I think, that is the place where everything, where the sleepless nights are talking about,
Yes,
where the fire brigade has to come in for the leaders, because then this now becomes a process of controlling, of managing, of being in charge of transitions and changes and moving parts in an organization. And in the pandemic, this has gone from like 15% to 20% of the time of the leaders' work to like 70-80%, because everything has come down to how you organize the dice, how you stack the bricks as a leader. And so for me, this has been also a key thing, in our organization. Even the other things that I'm blessed to serve at, like I serve a church, I serve in various businesses as an advisor and a partner, and I've seen that the companies, the firms, organizations that stood above the rest in the pandemic was because of how they handled change management. And I think for me, it's a good thing we're talking about. These are rarely spoken about topics. And and no doubt you're the one who's doing this kind of conversation as the CEO.
We're going to take a break, and when we come back from that, Neil, we're going to be talking to Neil about change management. Change management, we are referring to change as an individual. Was he employed? How was he able to move from his first employment, if at all, to the next? That management of change is quite very important, so many people don't take it seriously. There are people who are stuck in jobs and can't move, don't know what to do, and not aware of the steps that they need to take to move forward, because they've not been able to take themselves forward. Like you said, if you're able to push yourself a little bit, you're definitely going to be able to find that the challenges ahead of you, you're able to manage. So we'll dive into it a little bit when we come back from the break. You who is watching the show, we want you to send us your kisses and disses. I've seen some comments already coming from all across. We're definitely going to be sharing it here. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, the CEO bench will continue with Niels himself.
My name is Martin Anthony Nsuvuga. I'm the CEO of Uganda Retirement Benefits Regulatory Authority. And I've served the institution until now, where I've grown to the position of the Chief Executive Officer. So I've seen UBRA since its establishment.
I was also the person who started the organization as interim CEO for the organization. My role was to set up the organization, and here we are.
It has been a really new experience in my life. As you may have heard, UBRA was non-existent. There was no formal regulatory environment for pensions or retirement benefits. So we are a pioneer. We were appointed to set up the architecture and the environment for regulation of retirement benefits and pensions.
So the Ministry of Finance, because I was the technical person really handling all these reforms, they asked me to come and set up this institution, which is the Retirement Benefits Regulatory Authority. So I was requested to start as interim Chief Executive Officer, which I did from the year 2012 to early 2015. It's been a great journey. When we started from scratch.
The journey of 10 years of UBRA started with an Act of Parliament of 2011, but actual operation started in 2012, and that's why we are celebrating 10 years to date?
There was no institutional setup, there were no laws, there was nothing. So we started with the legal framework, putting in place the legal framework that establishes the supervisor or the regulator for the retirement benefits sector. Before then,
UBRA came into the market about 10 years ago. The first thing they did, right from their first offices at Communications House, was to take stock of the market. Who are the players? Who are the retirement players in the market? Who are the service providers? Which schemes are operating in the market? Service to note that there was already something happening in the market, even before UBRA came to play.
And because of that, there were Ponzi schemes, there were frauds and all those kind of things. There was no trust in the sector. So our primary objective was to build a system that would instill confidence in the general public.
I believe the journey has been very successful. We have a footprint now in the community, and that footprint is best exemplified by the growth of the pensions sector. When we were appointed, the pension sector savings were less than 5 trillion. Today they're approaching 20 trillion.
A number of proposals were carried to Parliament, and the biggest one was to actually put in place a sector regulator.
My role as a Member of Parliament when I came in 2001 was to make legislation. And one of the laws we have made is the UBRA Act, which basically came in to assist how to regulate the retirement pension funds, which were missing in this country. I'm proud that now we have over 19 trillion shillings in the pension fund. That's a very good contributor to national development. And in the future, I'm sure this money we shall not go to borrow. We shall use this money of the pension fund to really develop our country.
You'd appreciate that this is not a small contribution for a sector that was not regulated. But overall, it was part of the global reforms that we are seeing in other countries in the pension sector.
To me, that's a plus for the authority.
And you can imagine in a very short time, in less than 10 years, we have over 19 trillion. It believes that within the next 5 years, we should be over 40 trillion.
To me, that is a plus for UBRA and a surety for the people of Uganda who save with these different schemes, knowing that somebody is there making sure that my money that I put in any scheme is safe, is protected.
So one of the main objectives was to safeguard the interests of the members. Now what this means is that the moment members' interests are safeguarded, their rights are protected, it then boils down to growth of the sector. Now, what we've seen in the last 10 years is that the sector, the assets under management have more than tripled. So within a span of 10 years, we're seeing a lot of efficiency in terms of members are able to get their benefits, they're able to access more information about their schemes. More importantly is the professionalism that has been injected in the sector.
There has been a deliberate effort to build trust because the foundation is strong, it can be trusted. And again, the investment structures are very solid, so which means they encourage the growth of the market, the growth of the portfolio, and also provide the positive returns that we see to date.
The last one that is significant, which I've seen UBRA doing, is promoting transparency. So to a member, that information creates trust within the member because you are saying, there's nothing I'm hiding. This is how we run the scheme in the year. There were 13 meetings, and this member of the board, out of 13, he attended 3.
In the saving schemes, there was no trust, there was no confidence, there was a lot of risk. Even the savers could not know how much their contributions were. Okay? In other words, everything was in a disarray without any regulator.
I think as well, looking generally at the business environment, you rarely now see complaints of people stating that the funds that they thought they had in their names have disappeared or have been paid to the wrong person. And all this is just because of the supervisory role that UBRA has brought in, which has been pivotal in making us run a world-class pension sector in Uganda.
There are three parts to any pension system. There's the contributions or collections of pensions, there is the management of the pensions or the investment of these pension savings, and then there's the payment of these pension savings, either through a lump sum or through monthly payments. We have had a shared responsibility with UBRA for the past 10 years in the aspect of management of the savings through investments because many of the fund managers whom we license are also licensed by UBRA. Although UBRA focuses a lot more on the pensions or the retirement savings that they manage. So we have done this role together, we've had this shared role. The synergies we have drawn from this partnership have been very beneficial, and we look forward to continuing to work together with UBRA in the future.
We see growth in number of schemes in this market. Today we are talking of 65 schemes. In the past we are talking of 3 schemes that were established by an Act of Parliament. That is the Public Service Pension Scheme, the Parliamentary Pension Scheme, and the NSSF, all of them established by an Act of Parliament.
More importantly is to say that the journey that UBRA has walked over the 10 years have been challenging, but also refreshing, in a sense that they came into a virgin market. There was no regulator before them, especially in the pension sector. So what they started with was commendable. Let's do a stock taking. Let's understand the market. Who is doing what in the market? So I think that phase helped UBRA create the visibility, create identity for the first 3-4 years. Over the years, they've also been able to do publicity to kind of show the market, show the public that this is what we do, and especially as you plan for your retirement.
At least for the last 10 years, we've not had any corruption, loss of members' funds. We've also not had any poor investments because investments are all known, structured, in particular known asset classes that provide a very good return to the member. And actually in this period in time, that's when the sector has witnessed high returns to the members, double-digit returns for the last 5 years or thereabout.
So, in my opinion, that is trust from the general public that we are doing the right thing, and we hope that we continue to do that.
In the next 10 years, what I would like to really see going forward is the spread of coverage, because the pension sector as it is now is really in the formal sector. And when you look at the working population of Uganda, if you even put it at around 20 to 25 million, the working population, not even 3 million are covered by pensions.
I think my main message to UBRA is, first of all, to thank the CEO, Mr. Martin Nsubuga, and his team for supporting the pension reforms that have taken place so far, but also to remind the team that there's still some work to be done. It's not over, there's still some reforms that need to be done, particularly in the area of limiting access to long-term. Team, please don't rest. There's still some more work to be done to grow the domestic savings base of this country.
We feel that as a committee, UBRA needs to make itself more visible in Uganda, place itself, let the people of Uganda know what they are doing, let the people of Uganda know why they should save for retirement.
If you were to ask me, what should UBRA's next 10 years focus on? I would say that UBRA's next 10 years should be to now build this 20 trillion asset base that has been generated, should actually be able to ensure a comfortable life in retirement for all members who are in the retirement schemes. But UBRA should also then allow and come up with mechanisms to support the players to be able to onboard all the smallholders, all the informal sector to come in and secure their retirement by participating and joining the licensed pension schemes in the market.
And so my thinking is that we need to support the institution, particularly Parliament of the Republic of Uganda needs to support resource mobilization for allocation to the authority so that the authority can continue with the widening the coverage.
People now, instead of keeping money in boxes, will keep here, and it is in the financial sector, and it's easy to tap in. And the cost of money will go down, but our investment in the country will go high. And I can tell you, if we make very good regulations, we will have the support of Parliament.
I believe that the next 10 years are quite pivotal We've gone through the best building of the industry, and right now we are at the point where we have to be tasked with generating value for our clients and exhibiting relevance over the next 10 years. I'm very, very confident. In fact, I'm really proud of the work that has been done for the last 10 years, and my imagination runs wild. What is possible for the next 10 years?
And the other key achievement that or work in progress that UBRA is trying to do, which I again encourage different stakeholders in this sector, particularly Parliament, to support UBRA, is the coming up with a national micro pension scheme. Uganda is, our economy is largely informal, and even within the cities, we have so many people who are operating informally, and yet they earn income, either daily, either weekly or monthly. They earn income in one way or the other. But if not well guided, and I think this particular scheme, the micro pension scheme, would again help reorganize our people in the formal sector to put something aside. Because if you are in our market today, if you're a road vendor today, if you're a hawker today, if you're a border today, if you're a fisherman today, you still have that energy to go nearly every day in the waters and do fishing, to go to Nakawa market every morning to pick tomatoes, vegetables. But that strength with time, as years come by, begins to dwindle. That means the same basket that you can carry now, you are not able to carry in the next 5 years or 10.
So our focus, what really keeps us awake when I wake up in the morning, that drives my day, protection of members' funds.
So what I see going forward for the next 10 years is an organization that is efficient, that is creating value for the benefits. Efficiency meaning when I contribute, I must be guaranteed that 20 years from now, 30 years from now, when I retire, my money will be there. And ensuring that the monies that I contribute are invested in assets that will make my money grow. Not just putting in 1 shilling, and 20 years you're paid 1 shilling. When I put in 1 shilling, I should be paid 100 shillings at the end of 30 years. And that's the objective, and that's efficiency.
I think to the customer out there who might not even think they are a customer because you ride a border, you are in the garden, you don't even have anything to your name, UBRA will find you wherever you are and will look after you, because it's their mandate to look after you in retirement. And they can only look after you in retirement if you avail yourself now. And all they want to do for you is to make sure that when you hang up your boots, when I hang up this jacket in retirement, UBRA wants me to live a fulfilled life, a life bereft of poverty, a life of joy and happiness. And UBRA works with people and different entities to deliver that. As service providers, I think we'd want to say congratulations again, UBRA. We feel the heat sometimes, but we are ready for the task.
As we celebrate, let's also remember that there are those who are not yet part of the saving culture, and we find ways of bringing them forward. I wish you a happy celebration.
As we celebrate 10 years of service protecting retirement benefits in this country, allow me to thank the Board of Directors of Uganda Retirement Benefits Regulatory Authority. You have been very instrumental and very focused. Allow me also to thank the staff and management of UBRA. You have supported the cause. Allow me also to thank my predecessors, the first interim CEO, Mr. Moses Bekabyo, the Chief Executive Officer, my immediate predecessor, Mr. Bonyi David Nyakundi, the government of Uganda who have supported us, providing us with all the resources that we need from the day UBRA started up to now, the regulated entities, the stakeholders, the fund managers, the custodians, the administrators. Without you, we would not be talking of structures of governance in this market. And of course, the members who are saving, who have trusted us, who have continuously saved with the different schemes. Allow me to assure you that as we deliberate on this direction for the next years of service, At Ubra, we shall continue to protect your retirement benefits. May God bless you. May God bless your families. May God bless our country, Uganda. Let us celebrate as we thank God.
I want you to start by telling us, how did you think about starting Marketing Africa? What was the inspiration behind it? And what is Marketing Africa all about as a company?
When I was at the university, we had a publication. It was called the Marketing Review. And we were able to publish that magazine and get 18 full-page adverts at that time, which was a first. I've never seen it up to today.
Lord, I have something to say. I keep on searching for meaning in everything I'm doing. They say you listen to everything we say. That's why I'm calling and asking for you to lead the way. Yeah, I'll keep on walking, keep on walking. Please, Lord, lead the way. Let the children sing now, yeah. Keep on walking, please lead the way. Yeah, I'll follow. And I'll follow. And I will follow. I'll follow. Lord, sometimes I get afraid. Then I remember what the scripture said. They say you listen to everything we say. And that's why, Lord, and now I'm calling and asking for you to lead the way. Yeah. So I'll keep on walking, Lord, lead the way. Yeah, I keep on walking, Lord, lead the way. Yeah, and I'll follow. I'll follow. I will follow. I will follow. Yesu, mkwano wange. Yesu, tata wange. Yesu, subi yange. Kamugoberere, keep on walking, Lord, lead the way. Keep on walking, please, Lord, lead the way, yeah. And you know that I will follow, yeah. Oh, I will follow. sing, let the children sing, yeah, yeah, yeah. Keep on walking, keep on walking. I will follow. I will follow you, Lord, yeah. I will follow you, Lord, yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. Kakubele means follow you. And I will follow you, oh Lord. I will follow. What is your understanding of leadership?
Leadership for me means you're being able to immerse yourself and get your team, not staff. I've learned that's a very different, they're both different terms, and I'll tell you why. When you immerse yourself as a leader, you're willing to sort of get in the trench with your team and get them to buy the vision behind the structure you've set up or the business you've set up. Yeah. I think then you've achieved or you are on your way to achieving what it is you want to do with the type of business you have. The reason why I said there's a difference between staff and team is your staff is a body there, do this, do that, and they'll just follow and clock out. Okay. But your team will understand the vision and actually run with it. Perhaps even run with it better than you yourself envisioned. Okay. Yeah.
And Linda, on that note, are you a leader? Do you consider yourself a leader?
I think I'm learning how to, and I'll say I'm working on my impatience. I've been giving feedback about my impatience and that, and impatience in the sense that I know what it is I want. Perhaps we've all discussed it, and if it doesn't happen within Linda's 2 minutes, then I sort of take it away from you and try to do it myself. So I'm trying to pace myself and understand or allow others to move forward and do that. Yeah.
Welcome back from that break. The CEO bench is here, and we're talking to the CEO of, or rather the team leader of Flutterwave Inc. in East Africa. Nelson, welcome back to the program.
Thank you so much.
Pastor Mugabe says every time we do this, we have to spread love. So, okay. So you have to spread love to that.
Love it, love it.
It was brought, during the COVID situation, the pandemic, and he says, the world is so stressed, so you need to spread love to the world. Yes. So you have to, whenever you bongo at somebody, you have to spread love to them. Yes. But welcome back to the program.
Thank you so much.
Neil, we're talking about change management.
Right.
A lot of us don't know that managing change is quite key to our next step of growth in life.
Yeah.
I want to just take you to that moment. Have you been employed before?
Yes.
And if yes, how were you able to move from one job to the next? How were you able to communicate that? By change management, we're looking at the deliberate identification and implementation of necessary change in a human being. Yes.
Yeah.
You have to be deliberate about this.
Love it.
What is the necessary change that I need to make?
Yeah.
How do you know that I've reached that point that I need to move to the next step?
Right.
Some people are just stuck there. I need money for school fees, rent, and this this job gives me this, but they're dying. And the gifting and the talent God has put in them cannot be realized. How were you able to manage?
I mean, I like the definition you used, because two words stand out for me: deliberate identification and necessary.
Yes.
Now, the thing which I've observed, across organizations, across even my own life, my friends, is the first thing is fear. right? The second thing is people don't even know. They're not aware of self. So, you know, I've been employed, of course, you know, coming out of the university, you know, got my first job at an IT firm. And I quickly realized that, you know, it's easy to get comfortable at that firm. Because I knew exactly what to do. Reached a point where I knew exactly what to do and how to do it. And I was at the top in that firm. And so my own goal, then it comes up now self-awareness. And what your own dream and purpose is.
That's self-awareness and personal development is key.
It's key. So, you know, I set out, if you don't know where you want to be in 5 years, then you cannot make any necessary changes. So, you know, my goal was always to be, you know, a business owner. I knew that from the get-go that, you know, I'm built out to have my own establishment, my own business, but I knew I had to have the necessary skills. And so if I was in a place and I served there faithfully, reached a point where I couldn't add any value to that place and the place couldn't add value to me, I knew it was time to move on. So my first job, you know, was an amazing boss of mine, an IT expert. Reached a point where, you know, we were doing IT service management across the town. And the problems became the same. So there was no new challenge for me. And I knew that if I stay in that place, I'll be happy, have the pay I want. But again, there's no new challenge for me. Could not get me to a place where I wanted to be. Because I wanted to be like him, but then he could only allow me to do a certain work at some level. And so, you know, I began then looking aggressively for another place to be. And so at that time, it was choosing where to go to do a master's, you know, and that's another thing about it, is you know, knowing where you want to be also helps you make those choices. Because between a master's degree, which is amazing, and professional courses like MCSE and all these kind of things, plus another different job. And so at that point, I chose to go and do professional courses. Because again, the kind of company I wanted to establish was going to be a consultancy firm. And so I thought, if I go do a master's now in IT, I won't be a specialist in any kind of software. And so I went to do a professional course. And so that was easy for me to decide as well, because I knew exactly where I wanted to go. But again, I moved away from the place of fear of security. So I knew, look, if I put in this time to go do these courses a year or so, you know, I cannot fail, first of all, to find something to eat in that time. But then the second thing is that once I'm done with those courses, I'll be of much more value. And so it was I had to then now come and down and say, look, who are the stakeholders in this change? Of course, luckily at that time I was a single man. So, you know, it was just me, my blanket. My parents had to pay for the fees. So I had to go and now, again, present that idea to my parents and tell them the vision, you know, and then come back and also convince myself, because the biggest doubter always is yourself. And so, and in true fashion, when I went to do those courses, the place where I did them from retained me as an instructor there. And so for me, I think the key thing is the necessary changes. How do you know the necessary changes that need to happen in your personal life? It's where do you want to go? What are your dreams? What are your aspirations? What do you want to do and leave a mark for in this world? Maybe you want to be the best executive, you know. And so that kind of person, you can't be, you know, taking very audacious risk. It's getting your professional level up to that level. What do you need to learn? What do you need to be? Maybe you want to be an entrepreneur. You know, what does that mean for you, you know, in terms of advancing? And so knowing where you want to go is really key. And then coming back down then to then take the steps, right? There's always people who have gone before us. They're always there. How can you monitor these people? Look at the patterns. If you are into the media space, why can't you come to House of Talent, you know, and say, look, I know Eddie has been there. And I want to do something close to his, but I want to veer off. But it will be imperative for me to learn what he has put in. And then, you know, taking those steps eventually.
I mean, you talk about something very important, Neil. I mean, you talked about the very striking point there is that I reached a point where the organization wasn't adding anything to me, value, and I wasn't adding value to the organization. It's the biggest problem, people out there. The biggest problem for people out there to realize that I'm no longer adding value to the organization, and the organization is not adding value to me. Therefore, I need to move to the next place where I can add value. Many of us have failed in our positions, in our jobs, in our lives to actually get to that point. Neil, how do you get to that point, or how did you get to that point? What nuggets of truth that can you share with somebody out there who is watching you right now and wondering, okay, it sounds really cool, but I don't know how to start.
I know. Yeah. So the first thing is really, you know, truth. Be true to self. I default back to 7 many times. You know, when you're sitting in your moment of work and 8 to 5, you know, how difficult is it for you to accomplish a given task? You know, personally, you know, I like to, you know, set out what I'm going to do in a day.
Yeah.
You know, and if those things are easy for me, if I'm not being challenged, then I have to sit back. So either I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing, or you know, it's too easy for me. You know, so I do it really quickly. And so the first thing is, how do you know that you've reached that point where you're not adding any value?
Yeah.
What is the vision of the organization? Why do they want to be? You know, in that firm, like I told you, the vision of my employer then was to just have people who are fresh out of campus, pay them a bare minimum to service his clients.
Okay.
Now, you know, in my interaction with my line manager, who was he, I realized, look, his goal does not go beyond that. Now, the power I had at that time cannot push me beyond his aspiration.
Yes.
So I knew from the organization side, I've reached my limit. Then from my personal side is, okay, am I then comfortable to live within the within the limits of that dream?
Yes.
And I wasn't comfortable doing that, you know. And so people also find it, and it's African really. It's a very bad tradition that we have here of people rarely engage line managers to see what is the vision of this organization. Where is the CEO? Where is my leader taking me? What does he want to? I mean, we follow Jesus Christ. You know, he has really shown us the entire roadmap of what is the goal of our followership, right? And you know, it's aligning with that vision, and then saying, okay, I'm in this organization. This is the structure. This is the dream. Maybe I'm an intern, you know, and the way the structure is laid out is that from internship you become you know, associate, senior associate, become a partner, become a, you know, whatever.
There's a growth pattern is set out for you. Yes.
If you're in a firm where that is, you know, brilliant, set out, that's the first good sign. But if that firm now, I was in another job again, had that structure, but that structure was for architects.
Okay.
Right. And I was the IT person. Right. And so I realized, as an IT person, this is still the limit for me. Right. I can't learn anything new. I can't, because of my limitation to learn, I can't then give a better service. And again, the work I'm doing is valued up to some point. And so it's, you know, looking up at the organization, at their vision, their dream, their structure. Is it in line with what your own aspiration is? Yes. And if no, then again, one of the indicators. And if yes, then how then are you aligned to go through that structure? How much time are you giving yourself? What does your roadmap look like? Do you want to do it in 2 years, in 5 years, in 10 years? And is that process a process you're willing to go through in that company? And if that doesn't align as well, then another indicator.
Wow. Thank you so much, Neil. Well, I told you this is going to be some real fire in the house today. As a young man who is on a roll, and some of the things that he's talking about, you too can do it, you too can make it, if you're really, really willing to go there. I mean, Neil just talked about some of these things. I want to put the topic of the discussion up there, and I have some questions already coming up from you guys. Some people are really interesting question there. We are talking about, leadership, change management, and transformation. Leadership, change management, and transformation. Leadership, we want to know, do you have self-leadership? What's your understanding of leadership? I mean, it's not far-fetched for everyone to get it right, right? And then change is an aspect of, like Neil says, you either do it now. If it's delayed, it's coming. If it comes and finds you when you're not ready, you're definitely going to crash. And transformation is about the ability of a person to think beyond a certain degree. You've heard it from Neil. And Neil, I want to go back to that point. When you talk about, two organizations, distinct, experiences. One, you're an IT, but the growth pattern there is for people who are architects. You is in information technology. Basically, you are supposed to make these guys go there.
Yes.
There's no room for you to go. And in the first organization, you engage your line manager openly and ask for what is the direction that the company is taking.
Right.
Many of us are afraid to talk to our leaders.
Right.
And I have not found young people in my earlier time in my job, and that's how I was launched into leadership. Of course, I come from a leadership family where everything was about leadership from beginning. So we often joke about, we says we're born leaders. We don't know how we ended up there, but we're always there. And for me, I one time asked my boss when I was employed, what is the vision of the company? And we're in a meeting and everyone says, oh my God, how can you even ask the boss this question?
Right.
What's wrong with you?
Right.
You're always trying to be ahead of people. You're going to be fired.
Right.
So when we took a tea break, everybody thought I was going to be fired. But what was very fascinating for me was my boss at the time, a Kenyan man, decided to use me an example. He says, no one has ever challenged me like this young man.
Right.
And yet he's the last person to have come and joined the team.
Yeah.
And the way I joined the team, I joined as a cleaner.
Wow.
So there I was asking questions at some point as a salesperson.
Right.
I mean, I'm just a salesperson, but I'm asking questions.
Right.
That began to open my mind. And so he sat me down and says, never be afraid to ask questions, because then when you ask questions, sometimes your questions are good for me to rethink about where we're going.
Exactly.
Maybe you have seen something I've not seen.
Exactly.
But my colleagues thought that I was going to be fired. And it was a big problem. And then all the times I wanted to engage my boss to just say, where are we going? What are we doing? How do we get there? What are we doing that needs to get us there?
Yeah.
And we've seen it from you. I just have a question here, Neil. And the first question that's come from you is a bank teller, meanwhile. And she's saying, my name is Vivian. Edukela, thank you very much for the CEObench. The moment I saw your post, I had to find a way of watching this program. I've been in the banking sector for some time.
Yeah.
And what Nielsen just talked about right now has made me shed tears. I've been looking for somebody to give me a way forward. I feel like I've reached the top, and in the banking sector, there is no room for a bank teller to grow. I'm a senior bank teller.
Right.
That's all I have.
Right.
And there's a branch manager already there. The branch manager has nowhere to go. So the bank has very strict and not very many room for growth. What should I do? I'm just tearing up right now because I feel like I'm cut out for more, but I don't know what to do. And yet I fear to leave my job because I may not be able to get another one tomorrow.
Right.
Yes. I think you can see the predicament we've been talking about in change management.
Yeah.
What would be your best advice to Vivian?
I mean, the first thing is, the minute you feel it, right, it means there's something more in you already, right? That's the first sign. I always tell, all the people who I lead with, serve with, that the thing that makes you uncomfortable is probably because that's part of your purpose. Okay. So Vivian, of course, you're cut out for more, definitely. That's discomfort you're feeling. I had another word which always goes against change is fear. Yes. Right? You have to come against fear. Yeah. You have to do it afraid. And that's a thing which I learned over the years, that everything I've done in my life, I've been afraid. But I've learned to minimize fear to a point where it has no effect on me. Okay. So, you are a senior bank teller, you've realized that, you're afraid that you won't get another job. That's a fallacy. You will get millions of jobs. The key thing is, what kind of skill do you now have to add to yourself? What kind of value? So where do you want to end up? What do you want to do? Again, the thing also which makes many people disturbed and scared of change is they put unrealistic expectations on themselves. So the thing I want to tell you now is, if it took you 5 years, right, to change your life forever, would it be worth it? My guess is yes. Yes. If in 5 years, Vivian, you could be the CEO, or you could be a business owner, or if you could be whatever, you're an auditor or whatever it is, would it be worth it? Yes. And here's the interesting thing, that 5 years will pass anyway. So some people, when they think of taking a journey of 5 years to change their lives forever, they give up. Yes. And yet the 5 years have to pass anyway. So what skill do you need, Vivian? What do you want to be? Do you want to be a business owner? Begin to put in that time and that work. It will be difficult in the beginning, but do it alongside your job. Take some extra hours, learn about what you want to do. Begin to take some risk, calculate risk. Come against fear. I can guarantee you, if you set a goal that's realistic, whether it be 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, you will, I tell you, you will change your life forever. My background is IT. Where I am now, Flutterwave, it's a fintech, we're in financial technologies. I realized, about a couple of years, 3 years ago, that, I'm in technology, I was at that time doing cybersecurity, but I realized that, the way the world is going, payments will become a key part of the world that we live in. And so, 4 years ago, I began on a journey to immerse myself in finances. What does it mean for a transaction to be successful? What does it mean to connect technology and finance? What does it mean today, to be a leader in that space? What have people done outside of Africa, outside of Uganda? What is happening there? How do I be in the spaces where those people are, decision makers? And that journey led me landed me in China at Alibaba. Again,
Jack Ma.
I applied for a scholarship.
Yes.
Went for that 3-week training with Jack Ma. End up in the same space with the CEO of Ladderwave. And I can tell you that those years of learning, have ended up putting me in the place where I am today.
Yeah.
Today, very few, young, technology specialists are in a place where I am, my position. But again, many people just see the end result. No one sees the hours I spend in the night. My wife would know. Spend reading up, spend immersing myself, getting the education, spend on calls with people who have gone before me. But is it worth it today? Yes. Am I just getting started? Yes. Is it possible for any young man? Yes. Any young woman? Yes. So Vivian, don't, it's good that you're cheering because now you have the sense of what is in you. Take that time, make a roadmap and begin to implement it. Slowly, it's cumulative. It's like compound interest. Before you know it, if you give yourself a time of a year, 2 years, 3 years, in the third year, as you quit your job, it will be like you just began.
Wow.
Yeah.
I told you, and of course, I have another question here coming up. Edio Killer, thank you very much. I'm in the IT world. I enjoyed the interview with Adrian Kamoga and Elijah Chitaka. Man, Neil is breaking it down. I want to know. He said he left his job and he was able to speak to his line manager. How about you have a line manager who doesn't give you space to talk to them and does not want to hear from you, and every time you try to engage them, they think you want to take their position? How do I deal with that? How were you able to deal with that, Neil? Because right now, I'm in that place where my manager just simply sees me as a threat. Of course, I have some strength he doesn't have.
Yes. yes.
So change management has become tough for many people.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, one of the things that human beings, have downplayed a lot is influencing people, is knowing how to deal with people. That's a key strength. Okay. And that's an area of that you must take as self. Because the person who masters self and then masters people is going to thrive. In fact, there's a saying in the marketplace that your net worth
is your network is your network.
Exactly, right. Yes. But how does your network become your net worth? Is being able to deal with those people. Now, I've told several people, who I've served with, and I've learned from my experience that we will always serve with difficult people. With and for. Now you have to then learn how to address that. In all the difficultiness of your line manager, there are those moments, there are those times, there are those seasons. And it's just about having that wisdom, observing him and seeing the patterns. When can I go to him? And again, granted, the people who are impossible to talk to eventually, and that becomes a second side, right? What you're trying to avoid is that you have anything to do with that. So take time and learn how to influence people. There's a nice book by Dale Carnegie, how to make friends and influence people. That just deals with all sorts of dynamics of all sorts of people, And so take that time, observe him, look at his patterns. If you ask for, outrightly ask. Sometimes we just want to throw in points, but outrightly ask him and say, look, I want us to go for tea. I have some ideas I want to share with you. And in those ideas, begin with some compliments. Say, look, I appreciate you for all the things you've taught me. And this is exactly what I did. I said, look, we need to just have some time. Go for lunch. Where are you going to be? I can come to your house. And I said, look, you're teaching me so many amazing things, right? And here are my dreams, right? And I want you to help me, because where I am right now, I can't achieve those things, but you have the power. So that's what I'm thinking. These are my ideas. How can we implement these together? How can I come alongside you? How can I serve you today? And I've found that as even a leader, the people who have come asking me, how can I serve you, Neil? They have always had my ear. What can I do for you, Eddie? You can never say, I don't want to get out of my face. What can I do for you? And as you win him over, you're then able to ask those questions. Now, at some point, you'll find that in the structure, he's also, has another leader, right? But at least if you have that buy-in from him, you can then begin to have those questions. And if you reach a point where you can't get that breakthrough, you can't, there's that barrier, and if your company doesn't allow you to go, beyond him, because for example, like where I work today, we're allowed to, if you can't get to your line manager, you can go to the manager of his manager. But if you can't have that structure, that's also a sign that you're in a toxic environment. And many times, if you're in that kind of environment, the best thing is to move away in faith.
And find something that is better.
Exactly.
Well, thank you so much, guys. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, Neil and I are going to dive deep into e-commerce and how he ended up at Flutterwave. I think he's talked a little bit about it. but also answering some of your questions about change management and how do you manage change from one place to the next. And then we've got to talk about the leadership transformation in the e-commerce space in Uganda. How is it going? 6 questions for him to take, and for you who is looking forward to be in the e-commerce space to understand a thing or two. We'll be right back after this break. This is the CEO Bench.
What does it mean to be a community artist? What does it mean to to work within a community whereby you are all in the same boat, but maybe no, what did they say? You're in the same storm, but in different boats. Yeah. So so I think here for me, if you are working for a community, there are certain things that you have to do for the sake of the community, and where you're not expecting to earn from. And if you're working for yourself, it doesn't mean that if you're working for yourself, you don't work for the community, or when you're working for the community, you don't work for yourself. So I think there is a need for a differentiation here in terms of like, what do I do for my community and what do I do for myself? Because at the end of the day, you need to survive. You need revenue. You need to pay your bills or support your mom as well with your siblings. So I think
you are doing that because you want to earn.
Exactly.
So that you can improve onto your life, so that you can, like you said.
So for me, I think the advice would be like, what is the relationship between your community work and the work and your business? You know, if you think your community work is your business, then you have to have a model that is going to work to help you to earn from that community work. But then it ceases to be community and it becomes your business. You get what I mean? So when we work for our communities in the arts community, we work for them. We actually invest in them, you know, and then for us to survive as individuals, we have to find other alternative sources of revenue. And that's where I think Abdul has to think around and say, okay, my graffiti, my community education, my art, my area is where I feed my community with my skill and time and investment. But for me as a person, I need to find my own business revenue.
So in other words, Faisal, what you're saying is that what we're seeing are being put on the screen. The
public art.
So for example, Abdul, what Faisal is saying, that you can sell that art piece. So that should be in somebody's office. That should be in my office. That should be in Faisal's office. That should be in my sitting room. It reminds me that this work is painted by a community, by Abdul in this community, and I have it in my home. Can we hear some more from Jaja? Of course, Jaja is going to play for us that song, Kitenge. You've heard it, the sound, beautiful, and we're going to dive into how Kitenge is going to make it to the world stage as planned by Latif Shah.
Abamina bakyala mwena naddala bali erudde eri munoosirandani kyembakutira kiri kimu butekubagiza wadde embeera za korona bangi zatutagula kakati tuve mu mayumba kitengi pateyi n'ensonze bumale ate nga tetusaanidde ddala kugisuwa mwani yabagamba okwambala engoye z'emivumba tujja kwambala bitengi byokka Designer Latifu Uganda omurasita owakabye yatunga mu nnyonyi Maliki Jeni ne Hawa abo basibi banviri alo tujja kuba nabo Anifa wa makeup Mariamu yeddikoleta konne popini ebyokulya bingi nnyo ebyekifirika Madamu Sala Shoshi ebitaddemu omukono Olivia Katharini Nalima Maka manyinga ulira Kolono twambala ebitengi byokka Kolono twambala bitengi byokka
An army of sheep led by a lion will beat an army of lions led by a sheep. That's a fair.
Yes.
So let's be very honest about this thing, and really understand that you need to understand where you lie and where you fall. So it's very important for us to understand that leadership has to be definitive. You can't be laissez-faire. It has to be definitive. You have to be strong, just like a lion. You know, when a lion meets an elephant or a buffalo or whatever, the buffalo and all these animals run away. And yet, by the way, they are stronger than the lion. They are heavier than the lion. They are more intelligent than the lion. They are taller than the lion. They run away. The lion, because of its attitude, it sees lunch. That is a leader.
Mr. Tony Trav, thank you very much for coming to the CEO bench. And I want to ask you, so if you were elected the President of the Republic of Uganda today, what would be your first State of Nation address? Now, as you look into the camera and close the show.
I think my first State of the Nation address would first of all to... I think I'll just close it down.
Irene, being the very first person in Uganda, earlier on when we were talking to you, you became the first employee of Diwala in Uganda. I mean, what does that make you feel like being the first leader of a new innovation happening in Uganda? What experience has it given you so far?
It's a very humbling experience. And I always thank the team at Diwala for giving me the opportunity, because I can tell you when they met me, it was about 3 years ago, but you know, just chatting about, you know, what technology is in Uganda, how it can be applied to the education sector. It wasn't really, I could say, an interview. It was more me trying to give people some data and some information. And my CEO tells me that from that point, she felt like, you know, I could be part of that team. And I can tell you, I had zero knowledge about what blockchain technology is.
And yet here you are now talking like,
zero technology. And you know, now getting into Diwala and understanding what they do and understanding why they do it, which is very important. You know, it is important to know the reason behind your why. Like, why are you doing something? And you know, understanding it and understanding its impact and understanding what blockchain technology can do, how it can improve our lives. It's really been a great journey learning from them. It's first of all a humbling experience that I'm part of that team. It's a humbling experience that I'm given the opportunity to learn. Very rarely do people take a chance on you. And yes, I have skills, but I believe I'm continuously growing. I am still being beaten here and there. And it's humbling, and I'm excited to be part of that team. I'm excited to introduce the technology to all the people I know, my networks. And all I can say is that a lot is coming.
It is the CEO Bench, live on House of Talent Television. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. Go there and be part of the Ugandans, people in the diaspora. Over 1.8 million people we talk to every single day. They are happy people. Over 15,000 people out there we talk to every single day. Be part of that family growing big and better. Today on the program, we have Nelson Sango, who is the regional lead for Flutterwave Inc. in East Africa. Flutterwave Inc. is a fintech company taking East Africa by storm, making sure that if you have a product you're selling, you can integrate and receive payment from China without you having to go to China when you don't have a bank account. That's a simple one. Neil, welcome back to the program. Thank you. Somebody was asking me about it yesterday when I posted about you. And so I got a lot of people, usually we encourage people to send messages. And so they're saying, so you guys are talking about, e-commerce, we haven't yet reached there. Yeah. And these are young guys who are just, I said, no, we already reached there a long time ago. It's just probably you don't know what e-commerce is. And of course, it boiled down to the effect of COVID-19 on people. Right. A lot of us don't know we're already there, and somehow we're getting there by force, whether we like it or not. Yeah. And some of the things we need to be able to take advantage to learn, one or two. Yeah. So the CEO Bench often brings CEOs like you, people who are in position of leadership or climbing to the top. If they're at the top and they're coming down, what lessons can we learn from them? Yeah. If they're going to the top and they've reached a certain degree, what lesson can we learn from them? So you receive over 56 votes from different people who nominated you. Right. And normally, when you're nominated, we reach out to a person who is nominated and brought. You're on the list. I think you are with Pastor Moses Mukisa. There's another person from, I think it's the founder of Basel Dental, Godfrey Pachanengaya, and a few other guys, Val Okecho from Vivo. So there's been a shipload of votes going on from people. Right. And we decided that we'll reach out and bring people one by one. But there was a question perhaps about you. Can we bring Mr. Sango to share the story of how he ended up at Flutterwave? Yeah. I think you mentioned a little bit about it when you went for apprenticeship in China. Yeah. Neil, talking of this, and given the background we've given you, the journey to Flutterwave. I mean, it's an international company. Yep. We're known, started originally from Nigeria, but started from the US, Nigerian, and is now going across Africa. Would you share that journey with us? When you finally met with the CEO of Flutterwave in China at the Jack Ma Fellowship, how were you able to tell him that I am here, if you need somebody, I'm good to go? How were you able to be picked from there? Because I'm sure there are many people there who could have fitted the bill. But it was you being picked. Yeah. Let's talk about the journey.
No, I think it's again, right? What aspirations, personal aspirations, right? The thing which stood out for me in that fellowship was, in our conversation with Jack Ma, he mentioned something which was really pertinent. And what he said was that, the way that we make the change, and change is a big part also of what Alibaba has done, is we have to realize, what is the biggest problem we're solving. In fact, what he said was that if there are no problems, there exists no opportunity. And so he said, look, you people, you're 18 in this room, what is the biggest problem today in Africa? I'm not from Africa, you people know it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put you in groups, and I'm going to have you discuss what do you think the biggest problems are in Africa? And I sat there and I, just thinking about my own company, which I'd founded, which still exists today, buytoafrica.com, was, it's an e-commerce company, logistics company, cross-border logistics. And I thought to myself, look, if I can't get paid, I have no business. Yeah. And clearly to all of us in that room, the biggest problem was payments. And so, for us, it was a way of saying, look, how can we then become ambassadors to solve the biggest problems in order? And so right there, it was, first of all, people must have something they're trading in, and that's the commerce side. Yeah. Maybe goods, services, etc. Yeah. Second point, people must then be able to get paid. Yeah. So today, Eddie, with however amazing HTV is, and this is your product, this is your specialty, if you can't get value for it, it's, there's no value.
You're definitely going to close down.
Yes. The second thing is then, if you can get paid, then the third thing becomes, how do you then deliver that value? Which is where now logistics was. And I realized that I am at the third tier in hierarchy of problems. And so for me, it was saying, look, I'm available, right, to be part of solving this problem across the continent. And we vowed in that room to be available to each other to solve those problems. And so it's not a question of me being part of Flutterwave or being part of an organization. It's a question of how do we come together as Africans to know that, okay, we know this problem exists. How do we solve these problems together to make the change, to be the change, to lead the change we want to see on this continent? So for me, I can't be anywhere, but today I'm at Flutterwave because I believe in the value of the problem.
Yes.
And soon enough, as an entrepreneur, as a person solving problems, when we handle this problem, we'll move to the next problem and solve it. And so for me, it's a question of what's the biggest problem today in Africa, in Uganda, at my home, where I serve, at HTV. How can I then be valuable to solve that problem and then go to fix the next thing?
Wow. That thank you very much, Neil, for that. Let's talk about the question that has been lingering in our minds for some time, e-commerce. When we talk about e-commerce, it's a confused question, people don't understand it. But I want to start from my first question being, what are the features of e-commerce that you can share with us from the beginning? Or what is e-commerce? The question should be, I think, actually, what is e-commerce first? Because a lot of us out there don't know what e-commerce is, but we have a product to sell. We don't know how, during COVID-19 lockdown in 2020, the president, when addressing the nation, particularly in Uganda, and most presidents in Africa, kept saying, use the online services. We're not yet there. And people were wondering, but online services, what is the president talking about? How do I get my goods from Okila, who needs tomatoes, somewhere across 20 kilometers away from where I am in the lockdown, where I'm not supposed to be? How do I move? I mean, then how do I pay for these goods and services to get there? We didn't quite understand, but somehow e-commerce began to boom.
Exactly.
Borders jumped into it. Everyone was into it. Exactly. But what is really e-commerce?
Exactly. So e-commerce is not a very difficult concept. Now, the concept of e-commerce, the E stands for electronic, and commerce is trade as we know it. So commerce is basically the art of trading, goods and services, buying and selling, and the E becomes the electronic part. Electronic, why? Because the day and age we live in now, it's the internet age. And just to give a bit of a preamble to the internet, right? It's basically just devices, your phone, my phone, the TV, the laptop, communicating to each other. What this has created is it has made the world what we call a global village. Today, we're being watched live in the United States. We're being watched live in the UK, Dubai, in China, also in Uganda. Which means that if you remove the electronic side of the equation, we are not able to reach those people. What has happened today is that because of the electronic side, because of the internet, we're able to reach out to people who are beyond our own borders, our own reach. That is what e-commerce is. Today as a seller, today as a manufacturer, today as a person giving a service, how do you reach people on their devices across the world and sell to them in the comfort of their homes, in the comfort of their office? And so it's basically taking trading, buying and selling online. And so it has three major pillars. First is, how do you then showcase the good? Today social media has taken the world by storm. So Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, these have millions, hundreds of millions of users. But then how do you then create also a platform for yourself where you can now showcase? It's like an online shop. It's basically a shop that exists on your device. And then beyond showing them, how do they then get to pay for that good or that service? So, the aspect of payments, how does money move? Today, we are also blessed, and this is, again, architected by maybe God himself, that today in Uganda, in East Africa, we are the #1 region that is using mobile payments in the world. A couple of weeks ago, I was having a discussion with a professor from Harvard, and they have begun a course unit where they're studying the use of mobile money in East Africa at Harvard University. What this means is that East Africa is at the forefront of mobile payments. So then when you come from the showcasing aspect to the payments aspect, it then becomes, how do I then get the good or the service I've paid for? That's where the logistics comes in. And as you can see, the whole world now is alert to the fact that we need to allow delivery, logistics to happen. Even in the lockdown, dead mid of the lockdown, even Uganda, which has been on lockdown for a very long time, allowed delivery people to move. And so that is the three main pillars of e-commerce, but it's basically trading, buying and selling, own online platforms and then accessible to the whole world.
Wow, thanks a lot, Neil, for that. Question number 2 would be the difference between the e-commerce and traditional commerce.
Right.
Yes, we've also been, juggling and boxing around the corners and trying to understand the two. Some says my money will disappear. Some people have sent money and money didn't get there. Goods have been received. We've had David Okwi from Oduka.com stores, and he says in the early stages he would send goods and some people don't pay.
Right.
And then you don't know how to get them back. Or there are these bufferes, as we call it in Uganda, who order for goods. If you're watching the show from US or from Canada, wherever you are, it's a person who is a con man. Who get the goods from here and that's not the address.
Yeah.
And then they don't send them. And he says, okay, I'm going to send the money. They don't send the money.
Right.
But the question here is that what is the difference between the e-commerce and the traditional commerce?
Right.
Yeah, so that we can understand and sort of like understand how to mitigate the risk that comes with it.
Yeah. I mean, the thing which is, I mean, and I look at it as if they're not different. They complement each other.
Yeah.
So traditional commerce and e-commerce, the only difference is that the e-commerce is completely online. It's away from the physical store.
Yeah.
So basically what happens is that everything would happen in a shop. It is now happening away from the physical store. It's remotely happening. And for me, I like that we're discussing e-commerce together with change management.
Yes.
Because, this is an aspect that we must understand. How do we then transform?
Yes.
We're not stopping one or the other.
Yes.
It's transformation. It's managing, your customers. It's managing your own self as a business owner to transform your experience into an online experience. And all I've observed now is that, there must be a process. You can't just throw it on people. That's why there's so much stigma, because we're like, oh my God, now I'm going to just push my money. And we have invested a lot, even at Flutterwave and all the places where I've been able to be a part of is in training. Just training the people, just giving them education. That money actually is not flying around. It's not an evil spirit. I've had people wondering, how does money fly from one phone to another? How am I sure that you deliver?
Christianity will always relate it to witchcraft and
bind you break down, you bring down. But how do I make sure that as I'm teaching my customers to embrace e-commerce, I'm even willing to send them products to have a look and touch and feel and then choose and then send back what they don't want. It's part of the change management in e-commerce.
Wow. Neil, thank you very much for that. And the takeaway from it is e-commerce is purely remotely being done. I'm in my sitting room wearing my shorts, walking in my sandals. But I have Okila Health and Fitness, a workout that somebody needs to be to use somewhere in Kenya.
Exactly.
And I can deliver that from the comfort of my sitting room.
Yes.
And they will be able to pay me
you
Flutterwave system.
And receive their value.
And receive their value the other side.
Yes.
That's a good thing. And the traditional commerce we're talking about is walking to a shop.
Right.
In other words, riding a bicycle 40 kilometers to a shop to
enter Eddie's gym.
Yes, enter Eddie's gym or Eddie's gym and then come back in lockdown. So that's the difference between the two. For some of you guys who have been asking what's the difference is between the e-commerce and the traditional commerce that Of course, when you walk to a supermarket, you still use e-commerce. By you swiping your card, money is not exchanged hands as real cash money, but it's still going through the same process. All right, Neil, what are the advantages of having e-commerce to organization? I mean, Flutterwave, you've been signing as many people as possible. I walked to a friend of mine opened a new shop in Kampala. And selling original watches in Kampala, Malungu. Yes.
Right.
And he invited me.
At the mall.
Yes,
Arena
Mall in Kampala City. And he invited me to go and check it out. And so I walked into this, watch shop, and up there's Flutterwave as a payment system platform we use for receiving payment.
Right.
I mean, what is the advantage of having this kind of system to businesses?
Yeah, I think to a business, right, it's I could spend the whole day. But the first thing is for me is as a business owner is just to have that comfort. Number one is security. The cost of handling cash is high and it's risky. Second thing is you give an array of range of possibilities to the paying customer. So as opposed to receiving only cash in one currency, online you're able to receive be it mobile money, be it Visa, MasterCard, PayPal, different Safaricom M-Pesa in your shop. What that does, it opens for you a possibility of new customers. The third thing I can say for me really about that e-commerce does for a business is it unlocks the border for purchase. We have a story at Flutterwave, and this is the thing. One of the things I mentioned about Flutterwave is we have a merchant who in the lockdown her business closed completely. And so what happened was that she used to sell arts and crafts, some sandals, etc. Lockdown happened. She couldn't go to a shop. She couldn't sell to anyone. She had a store, a physical store, because of our online stores platform. Because it is online, because it reaches the whole world. She opened a store again, following my advice, and she put her products on the store, and she began selling sandals to Ghana, to Nigeria, to West African markets. What this did create was a new opportunity of business. This lady went from selling 20, 30 pairs of sandals in a week to selling hundreds of sandals in the lockdown. Able to get paid in Nigerian naira, Ghana cedis. Money gets converted to her money in mobile money on her phone. Opened up markets.
This is using Flutterwave system.
Yes. Opened up now opportunity in Kenya. She's begun selling now a little bit in Zambia. But before going online, this was impossible. How will she market her product over there? How will she get money from Zambian kwacha to then come and go to a forex bureau, change it to Uganda shillings? This was impossible for e-commerce. And so as a business owner, you have to think of these things. What does you going online today on Facebook, there are millions of customers, millions of potential buyers. You can reach, by just, putting your advert out there, you can reach over 100,000 Ugandans. What would it take for 100,000 Ugandans to walk into your store today?
A lot of, first of all, you need to jump into the car and, or a motorcycle to ride to go and find the store.
Yes.
The traffic, we're talking about that you were delayed in traffic just to get here.
Just
imagine if you are going to get
something. So imagine 100,000 Ugandans in a day accessing your product. If the conversion, if even just 5% of them are buying, or even just considering to buy, that's 5,000 people. Wow. If 10% of those 5,000 are buying, that's 500 sales. For you to sell to 500 actual customers, you have to have 100,000 people come through your store. These metrics, are really challenging, and that's why online presents a new arena. And I'm thinking about only Uganda. If you look at the fact that Facebook is in every single country in the world, then the possibilities are endless, like we say at Flutterwave.
Wow. Thank you very much, Neil. We're just reading one more thing, a couple of questions here before we've gotten to the evening of our show. And I want to encourage you guys to share your questions far and wide. We're definitely going to sample some of them. I've seen a lot of questions coming from the US and some of them coming from Nigeria. You've got some people in Nigeria, got some people in Kenya, and I've seen some people sending messages from as far as Canada. These are Ugandans who always stay up late to actually watch the show. But first, before we get into their comments, Neil, I want to ask you a question. Would you explain the advantages of e-commerce to viewers?
Right. So I've been explaining the merchant side. Now the customer side, it's comfort. The customer is king, like we've known in many businesses. The key thing that the customer gets from e-commerce is, one, is the comfort. Two is the fact that if the partners that are involved today, we're trying to do whatever is possible to secure the customer. The customer is primary focus for us. And so security, of course, of transactions. You're able to claim back. You're able to say, I didn't get value, and get back your money. You're able to, do other things. So for example, today, for me to buy this shirt, for example, which, had to have me go to a physical store. Now, I can be here on this show and order for a shirt and to be delivered here. I can save time. But also beyond that is then saying, how do I then have a level of accountability? I think for me, as a consumer now, the biggest advantage I have for e-commerce is that because I transact online, there's a history, an actual history. So several times I'll go to
your account is much
several times I'll go to my statement, mobile money, bank, and I look at, oh my God, this is where the money went. But as a guy spending physical cash, you know, we don't throw away the receipt and what, and you know, that element of accountability, you can't tell. You know, and that's among the many other advantages of e-commerce to our user.
Very well, thank you. What are the shortcomings of e-commerce, if any at all? Like any other thing, there's good and bad, but what are the shortcomings of e-commerce?
Right. So e-commerce has a bit of shortcomings, especially in our market with our background. You know, the actual human interaction. You know, I've found it again difficult to convince a customer. Even that avenue of convincing is not there. So e-commerce, you know, works when you have some level of trust already from the customer. Because then, you know, traditionally when a guy walked into Eddie's gym, you say, no, I can see your size, Neil. I've worked with people like you, etc. If he clicks a link and Eddie's not there, Eddie, the salesman, as we know him, it's up to his intuition and your graphic design to convince him. So that can be a shortcoming. Of course, there are ways to mitigate that, but that's one shortcoming. Second shortcoming would be, because it depends on various aspects in the ecosystem, right? You know, the delivery, the payment, sometimes because of that interconnectivity, there may be a delay in one place or another, and it breaks down the trust of the people in e-commerce.
Oh, wow. Well, thank you very much, everybody. We've come to that moment where we now read your questions to Neil. I want to start from guys on YouTube, and I see here Faz Zinderson says, good presentation, Neil. Thank you very much for representing. And I want to go straight to, you know, the messenger always have as many people as possible. 250 plus messages. We can't read all of them, but I want to sample some of them. Eddie Okila, thank you very much for bringing Nielsen Sango to the program. First of all, I went to school with him, and I like the fact that he's very passionate about what he's doing. I have a question. I live and work in Europe now. In Europe, you know, everything is about e-commerce. Everything, all payments online is credit card. Uganda and Africa, like many other countries in Africa, don't respect credit card. How are they managing, you know, the challenges that comes with e-commerce payments through online, where people are not trustworthy like it is in Europe?
Right. That's a good question. And again, it comes down to Africans building African products. Now that question cannot be asked by you, Eddie, because of course, you know, you would know that in Uganda we have, you know, mobile money is very prevalent. And so the thing which I've also embraced and learned to you know, carry forward with all the people who I work with is how do we build products for this market. And so cards are not prevalent here. There will be, you know, 1%, 2%, but the most transactions are going to be on mobile money platforms. And so this is a way. Mobile money platforms is really popular in this part of the world. Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania. So it's number one in payments, and people actually utilize it a lot for payments. So, you know, but as well, alternative methods like cash on delivery, which, you know, as you begin to go into e-commerce, it would be nice for you to start, you know, with that channel as you encourage customers to then, you know, move into mobile money, card, etc. What that does is that, you know, you have to sell the advantages to the customer. You know, not just saying you use this, you know, you're saying why are we using this? What's the vision of us using this? What does it mean for you also in securing payments? And then we have seen also the rise of wallets, you know, so apps, you know, platforms that have store of value where you can keep some money in a wallet and then you can easily pay online.
For the goods and services. Well, thank you very much. Dennis, all the way in Australia. Dennis, first of all, thank you very much for being a very loyal person to follow HTV. He's one of those people based in Australia. Says, Eddie Okila, thank you very much for bringing Mr. Sango to the program. I have a question to Mr. Sango. Many businesses in Uganda are not very formal. And they are not quite very organized with bookkeeping and stuff like that. Sometimes people prefer cash money to money coming from coming through e-commerce. And take, for example, I recently had to send money to my brother when the fuel prices in Uganda hiked. All petrol stations in Uganda, and to me it was shocking and very disturbing that Vivo Energy, Shell, Uganda refused to take mobile money and cards and said they wanted cash money. So that defeated the whole point of e-commerce. I mean, such challenges that comes like this to Mr. Sango, how are they able to deal with it? Because that poses a threat to their business.
Yeah.
I think what he's saying, Yes, I went to a petrol station at night, gas station, to put fuel in a car, and I was told I can't use mobile money, and I can't use my card, my debit card, and so I was stuck. And I asked the guy, I said, how is this even possible? This is what's supposed to be. So if a small thing like that can take us back, what would be your advice on how we can deal with it?
Yeah, I think, it's part of its responsibility, right? And it comes down to change management and leadership. The same exact story happened for Visa and MasterCard years ago when trying to convince people that store of value can be on a card. I think we have to know exactly where we are at this point in time. We're the trailblazers. We are leading the journey. So the expectation we put on ourselves must be realistic. Mobile money in itself had a hard time convincing us, the users, that value could be on your phone and be transferred. I think we're not where we want to be, but we are light years where we've come from. And so the question becomes, and how do we go on that journey? The reason which, Vivo would give for not accepting mobile money, these are real reasons. And so, for myself as a leader in this space is, how do I go to solve their challenge? Because, money must be able to hit instantly a position. Today, if I give you your cash, Eddie, you're sure that your cash is in hand, right? It's just between you and your bicep to defend it. If I give you, if I said I'll send you money over an online payment system, it takes some time to reflect into your account. Now, if you don't know me, if you know me, Neil, it's easy to accept. If you don't know me, it's hard for you to accept and say, but how is this money going to move through these systems? Where is it actually? Is it in the clouds? Where is it? So we must work together as players in the ecosystem to say, okay, how do we make this faster? How do you make this real time, like mobile money? Today, you can agree with me that many people have begun accepting mobile money because it's instantly coming to your phone. If we can do that for organizations now, the value is going to become eminent. And as we do that and we train them, we integrate it into their systems, make it a part of their process. I can tell you, even just the lockdown has caused an acceleration of like 5 years. Before, no one would even ever consider accepting online payments. Today, you have seen even companies like Cafe Javas, for example, who have a big online part of their business that grew and became active in the lockdown. And so I know that it's not where I want it to be. So if you've traveled around the world, but we are making light years in terms of advancement to get to where I want to be.
Well, thank you very much, Neil, for taking time to come and share this with us today on the CEO Bench. The last question here, what is next? This question we often ask leaders. What is next? What is the next step for a CEO or a leader in management level of leadership? If they are leaving or returning or staying, what would you say is the staying power at Flutterwave for you? Because you are there, you are still staying. You're not yet coming down to somewhere else, you're staying. What is the staying power for you there that we can learn from? And what are those 3 things that you can leave with our viewers today? Somebody who wants to pick something that they can use tomorrow to better themselves.
I think, for me, of course, I'm blessed to find an organization like Flutterwave where, there's a lot of value for the individual, right? In terms of what you're becoming, what else can you become? What are the possibilities? What do you need to do to even get there? So, the dream is big, the passion is massive. We have to go, to all countries in this continent, and change, be the drivers of that change in payments. And so the dream is still big, the vision is big, and I'm aligned to that vision, so I'm still there. The 3 things I can say, to someone who's watching me, as a person who, either is a leader or you're on that journey of going into, self, just understanding self, or changing into another role, which I've had to do in the recent weeks, is, the first thing is know yourself. Know what you're about, have a vision, know where you want to go and what it takes to go there, right? That's the first thing. That understanding will give you a sense of direction. It will be like a compass to show you, the vision is like a compass. It just shows you, where do I need to be going? What am I thinking about? Where do I spend my time? Second thing is, then after that, find a community, a space. And there are many amazing spaces online, even physically in the country, where you have people who are mentoring you, who have had similar changes, who have had similar challenges. Find that space and be in that space, be active in that space. Most times people wait, as people who are growing in their career journey, wait for their managers to call them. I can tell you that, being the guardian of your destiny, you have to approach the people who you want to impact you. Yeah. Another third thing I can leave, with everyone watching here, is refuse to be afraid. Do it in fear. If you're stuck in a job, you don't want to be in that job, what do you want to do? Who can get you there? Begin to take those steps. The fear will be there, but suppress it. Believe that all things are possible. I have seen it. I have lived it. I am living it. All things are possible to he or she who believes. And I can tell you that, the limit is not existent if you just believe.
Wow. Yeah. Thank you so much, Neil, first of all, for coming to the program today. We want to, take this moment to thank you for accepting the nomination from our viewers to come to the program today, and for you to be able to share your heart with us. It has come to that moment when we have to say goodbye, and every good thing comes to an end. And, we want to wish you well. We're looking forward to catching up with you when you are now taking over, East and Central Africa as the next lead for Flutterwave. And we'll definitely be able to bring you in and to all the people. We want to spread love to you. No, it has to be the other hand.
Oh, okay.
Yes, so, and then you spread love to other people, yes.
All right.
And thank you very much for being a part of the CEO Bench Growing Bigger and Better. To all of you guys in the US, in Canada, in Sweden, and all across the world, we thank you. And from back here in Uganda, where we're actually based, we want to say thank you. To the crew, thank you everybody who has made this possible. Until next week, stay hooked and stay blessed. The CEO Bench has come to an end. Eddie Okila, Nielsen Sango, signing out.
We can choose to teach what we teach differently. And for me, that's what I decided to do, even in the system that there were. When I was in Makere, my classes, I was very intentional on how I taught my classes. Yeah. I opted to be a facilitator as opposed to a lecturer. Yeah. 2, I allowed co-learning. We learn together. Yeah. I am not the epitome of knowledge. Yeah. If you have learned something and you think it's beneficial, let's share it. That's the second thing. That come to the realization that knowledge is not housed in one brain. Yeah. Knowledge is God is gracious. Yeah. Each one of us has a portion of knowledge about some of the things. When you trigger people to go and search, they will go. When you trigger people to sit back and depend on you, they will sit back. I'll say, trigger people to go and search. Wow. You will teach the same things, but the outcomes will be different. My final shot to those of us that are very passionate about education and want to change, when it is so painful with what you're doing, you'll do what I'm doing at Refactory. You'll choose to go against status quo. And I hope history will judge you fairly. When that time comes, I can say, yeah, I've trained about 300 people at Refactory. We've trained about, it's not only me, we've trained about 300 people at Refactory. We have about an average of about 70 to 83% placement. I can say I'm happy. I'm a very happy person because I know for a fact that the current placement rate for fresh university graduates is below 10%. So for me to be at 83%, yeah, I feel I can walk on the clouds, but I won't. There's still a lot of work to be done. Yeah. And so each one of us has an individual responsibility for those of us that are in the education space. Yeah. And hopefully, each one of us can then create that summative change that we need to see. Wow. Thank you.
what can the men do, okay, to promote women's sports, or basketball for that matter?
Yes, so today morning, someone told me, he made research, actually my brother, that these days the NBA actually facilitates the WNBA games to see that they're also somewhere. How about the NBL men starts doing something, not totally like investing in and all that, but it can be with the support system. It can be one very good thing, seeing that creating more opportunities for these ladies, putting up different games like, so as like women can be like seen or showing that these guys also like care. It can start with support, and then with time they can also like recommend whoever facilitates them to like partially have his thoughts somewhere on the women's team, so that like they can all go about like together, in solidarity. I think that can work. I don't know, I don't think it's something big. It can start with support and then financially with time.
Now I'm going to talk to my people.
Yes.
Because I like what, as we are saying, vive la France, vive la francophonie. So, le leadership, c'est quoi? Le leadership, ce n'est pas le fait d'intimider les gens ou bien de dominer les gens, non. Le leadership, c'est le fait d'aider les gens à suivre le bon chemin. Parce qu'il y a des gens qui sont là, ils ne savent même pas par quel chemin emprunter. Il y a des gens qui ont même étudié, mais ils ne savent pas quel business ils doivent faire. Maintenant, l'idée, quand tu rencontres une personne pareille, tu vas l'orienter. Non, tu peux faire mieux que ce que tu fais. Non, la peur que tu as là ne va pas te tuer. Tu peux aller au-delà de la peur. L'idée, c'est comme j'avais donné l'exemple, allow me to go a little bit deeper. J'avais donné l'exemple ici en français, en anglais, pardon. La vidéo que j'avais vue à propos de chiens, il y avait un groupe de chiens au niveau du Canada et il n'y avait pas de l'eau. Pourquoi? Parce qu'il y avait la neige, il n'y avait pas la place pour que tout le monde puisse boire de l'eau. Mais il y avait seulement une petite place pour le boss que je vais appeler. Et il ne voulait pas que les autres puissent venir boire de l'eau, comme il était boss, il intimidait les gens. Mais il y avait un petit garçon, un petit chien qui était là à côté. Il a eu l'idée de briser la glace, là où il y avait pas, parce que l'eau était en dessous et il n'y avait pas moyen de boire, mais le petit chien a brisé et tout le monde a vu ce qu'il faisait. Ils sont venus, ils ont commencé à briser et tous ont profité avec l'eau potable. Et le boss était laissé comme un vaurien. Personne ne le faisait encore confiance parce qu'il n'était pas là pour les aider. Il était là simplement pour le faire peur, les intimider. Mais l'idée, c'est quelqu'un qui est là pour aider quelqu'un à avancer jusqu'à son destin, à sa vision. Parce que nous avons tous nos visions, mais c'est la peur des fois qui nous arrête. Merci mon ami.
You have to know each equipment. You have to know the brew ratio. Actually, the brew ratio is
very important.
The most important. Brew ratio now most people may not understand. It is the ratio of the coffee powder to water, and the yield. Water in this article will bring us into the yield. If I put 10 grams of coffee into my portafilter, how much of it am I? Exactly. So if you don't master the brew ratio, everything is going to turn out a mess. You understand? Even if you know that knowledge and you don't master the brew ratio.
And one thing I would like to allude to or tell the other youth out there is we have to start creating our own solutions for our own problems. Otherwise, no one else is going to come from, you know, Europe, America, or wherever to try and fix our own issues. So I would like to urge other youth, the other creatives out there, hit the ground running, go in there, try and solve the problem that, you know, your neighbor has, the problem that your friends have. And by creating those solutions, you know, you can easily, you know, become the next big company of tomorrow, creating, you know, bigger solutions, you know, nationwide and on a continent level.
First and foremost, thank you very much for hosting me. I'm really, really humbled, and I'm blessed to be here. Yeah, surely. Talking about basketball, personally, my journey of basketball started from far, very, very far. That was in high school, and in a situation whereby we did not have enough exposure. We didn't have coaches. We didn't have the facilities like we do have them right now. Although I'm saying this like there's so many years ago, there are not so many. That was about, I began knowing basketball in 2007. That was at KPC when I was in P7 vacation. That is end of 2007 actually, that KPC North. That's when I first touched basketball. Then 2008 when I joined Namibiango in Senior 1. I saw people playing. Actually, the people whom I saw there playing and inspired me were Sally of, he played for Chambogo Warriors, if you remember him.
The left-handed.
Yes, and Omongin, last I saw him playing for City Oil. Those were the guys whom I found in Namibiango. I was in Senior 1. These guys were playing basketball at another level. And we would actually just go there to watch them. You know, for us by that time, they couldn't allow you to step on the basketball court that those guys are on, because they were senior 6s, you are a senior 1. You just, the best you can do is watch. Other than that, you don't step there. But nonetheless, that's where I started. Beautifully, or I would say lucky for me, that when I was playing with those guys, once in a while when they could see me about midday 1, when the sun is very hot, when they are still resting and waiting to come. So when we would go to court and, you know, try a few shots here and there, and then they would come and they meet us, they would see what we are doing, and, you know, they would identify talent. I don't know if I can use that word. So, you know, one or another, they identified my talent. They realized I could at least throw in the ball. At any sport. They would just give it to me. Although I was weak, I didn't know how to bounce. They only told me one thing: throw in the ball. And throwing in the ball gave me an opportunity to play with them. When I was in Senior 1, Senior 2, but still, of course, I still had people who didn't believe in me, and it was challenging.
Which is the French development agency. They brought in Organization of Francophonie countries. They brought in Institut Français. These are the gatekeepers. These are the people who are going to be dealing with us, the young people. And the conversations were about, okay, what is AFD doing? And for me, it was very interesting to find that we've known AFD as a development agency for France, but investing in big businesses, infrastructure, roads, government, and projects, but they had never thought about the creative industry. And for them to have this conversation, influenced by the French policies on how to engage with the new Africa, and also realizing that their politics has not worked, but the many young people now are taking over in Mali, in Gambia, they are realizing that these young people, they don't know what's going on with them. They need to get to tap into their knowledge and see what's going on in their head so that they can also understand them as well as support them.
I joined Show to gain exposure, to become international. I feel through this I'm going to be normal.
Cause you're a sky full of stars. I'm gonna give you my heart. Cause you're a sky full of stars. Cause you light up the path. I don't care, go on and tear me apart. I don't care if you do.
My biggest reason why I started the CD show was the force and the lack of an identity in Uganda, and also a community that can bring the designers together. It all started from these good designers I always meet, and they don't have support. You look at someone is so excellent, but imagine working from home. Others are working from boys' quarters. Others are working from garages. So basically, when I add up all these creative people I see, we have no reason why still Uganda is recognized by Amini's regime. If we have these creative people, why don't we promote them for the country to grow? We need to celebrate our own talent. So when I bumped into this American embassy diplomat, I pitched her and she loved the idea. That's how the partnership started. Though the biggest challenge we're having now, we lack space. Sometimes the embassy provides us with space. Our vision basically is to create a community of designers and to identify Uganda's fashion. We need to see a generation where designers look at the environment and turn it into garments, so that anywhere in the world someone can recognize that this fashion is from Uganda. We started by a small number in 2014. We're looking up to a bigger number because we have so many designers, but the facilitations we have can't manage us to accommodate the biggest number. We started by hosting our event at US Ambassador's residence. Then after, we welcomed the Kampala Fashion Week on board. And then for the third year, we welcomed Bayimba International Music Festival. Though now we're looking up to having our dream event and get all the networks in the industry. We've been working with some local volunteers from the industry, but since the number grows, we again need more trainers to help the designers. Our dream is to discover new designers and give them fashion and design skills. We also dream to have a fashion curriculum and a structure where these designers could meet for knowledge, which they can also pass on to the next generation.
Ras Kas, welcome to the program. Of the Kasware, welcome to the program. How are you doing, my brother?
I'm doing good.
Great.
Yes.
And how have you been? Has a year been for you?
Lockdown, like, it's challenging, but it helps us on the side of creativity.
Okay, that you are able to create more things. Great to have you here, Ras Kasozi. Ras Kasozi, you are a big icon at the moment in Uganda, and you've joined the platform of the generals like Santanzo, Stella Tal, Latif Kasumba, Sensund Fashion, and all these other people that we have in Uganda. And of course, what does that make you feel, first of all, as a young man joining the league of the big men and women?
I believe we all have to share the cake of the world. Like, we shouldn't discriminate. We're all human. We have to struggle for whatever we want.
Yeah.
But it's another lesson to me, because basically I'm coming from the ghettos. I never thought I could make it this big. I'm not yet to my goals, but I also appreciate for the journey I've taken, because when I see my background and where I am now, a bit I struggle. So I try to change the mindset of people. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I want to say welcome to the show, Ras Kasozi. Ras Kasozi is the founder and artistic director or creative director or fashion director of Raswear or Kaswear, and of course is the fashion design house known now internationally from Uganda. We're going to dig deep to basically know who Mr. Kasozi is and where he comes from, which part of this country, who are his ancestors, where does he come from, so that we get to know him a little bit more from a personal point of view. But on that note, I would like to invite all of you guys watching the show to share it far and wide. We're live on Facebook, on Twitter, and on YouTube. Please feel free to share far and wide and enjoy the conversation with Ras Kasozi. Mr. Kasozi, welcome back to the program. First thing first, who is Ras Kasozi? And what is the meaning behind your name? If I'm watching the show from New York, from Vancouver, or from Egypt, and I don't know you, or even from the northern part of Uganda, from Barara, from Tungamu, from Kasese, I don't know you. Who are you? And what are the values that define you as a person?
Basically, I'm an African. Like, Ras, R-A-S, to me is African, and then Kasozi is my indigenous name, meaning I'm from Ngabi clan. Yes, so I'm typical African. Yes, from the Kamwe Muganda, basically.
Yeah.
And
which part of Buganda? Oh, yes.
I come from Muduma. Yes, Muduma. That's the Pigi side.
Okay.
Yeah. So with the purpose of...
Is that the central part of Uganda?
Yes, central part of Uganda.
Yeah, please go on.
Yes, I'm coming from a central part of Buganda,
yes.
Uganda, yes. And I have a purpose of living. I got an opportunity to know why I live. Business-wise, I make clothes, but why I'm on earth is I nurture possibilities.
Okay.
So my purpose is so much into supporting the youth, spreading the talent I have, teaching, through love, magnetic, sharing ideas, and also self-confidence.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to just take you a little bit back, Ras Kasozi, from you got nominated to come onto this program. And of course, a lot of people follow your work. And most times in Uganda, we know so many people. They are big names, very big, great names, but we don't know who they are. We don't know where they're coming from. We don't know what they have been through. Could you take us a little bit more about your life growing up as a child? Did you ever see yourself ending up here? How did you end up in the fashion industry, first of all? And what was your school life and growing up like?
I think being a fashion designer is accidental to me. Yeah. Though I'm coming from a tailoring family, my mom used to be a tailor, and she never supported me to be a tailor. because she was struggling a lot with it, you know. Like tailoring is not something nice here. You get the industry just growing. So I did computer science, but after looking for jobs, finally I had that skill because I could help her from home. She used to make tablecloths. You're drawing on those flowers and stuff. So as a kid, I got that skill. Then after looking for jobs, and I failed to get jobs, I knew this skill, but I didn't know that even fashion is important. So accidentally, I went into that direction. But taking you back, I'm coming from a family of 5 children, and I'm the second one. We all doing fashion, apart from our older brother, is an engineer. But yeah, we struggled with life. Like we helped ourselves. Like we never had this parental support so much. Like find the parents loved us, but they couldn't afford what we wanted. You get. But we used to discover everything. I think that's why partly I'm here, because I have the ability to survive. Yes.
Okay. Talking of this is a very interesting story actually, and journey, Ras Kasozi. How did you end up into the Rasta name from Charles Kasozi to the Ras Kasozi that now become the Kaswea? Yes.
I think self-belief, like no one supported me. All my family members are cool, you get this gentle.
Yeah.
But I was not inspired by anyone.
Yeah.
I don't know why I choose that way, but I think it's from the struggle we went through.
Yeah.
You try God, God refused to help you. You try your siblings, they refuse to help you. Yeah. And then you get this habit of surviving by your own and having your own identity, having your own passion. That's how I turned into, I think that.
Yeah. Of course, God helped you because you are still alive. You are still alive in the struggle and the process. You could have, died like many have done. The fact that you had the spirit behind you that would allow you to think, to say, no, I'm more than this. That we always say is God, the spirit that is beyond the human being we can't see. That's how we call it. But thank you very much, first of all, for knowing that you have actually come from there. Now, let's talk about, you said your mother was a tailor and you got into tailoring by accident. Learning from you is a very interesting thing. A lot of people out there may not know how to, turn around their situation. To you, fashion and tailoring was never something your mother wanted you children to get into, because she was struggling with, maybe wasn't paying very well. How is it now with your mother, given where you have reached and traveled the world showing fashion? Does it make her look good? Does it make her, what has been her response so far?
Unfortunately, she passed on.
Before you became a superstar?
Yes. Now, a little story about that. Yeah. I did my first showcase from Baimba.
Yes.
That was 2010.
Yes.
And she used to tell me, Kasozi nebe byolimu bikola, you get.
Yes.
And
you
get, yeah, such things.
Yes.
So when I got this opportunity to showcase, I said, I'm not going to tell her, I'll surprise her with my fashion show.
Yes.
So she passed away like 2 weeks before.
No.
So she never saw any success of me.
Wow. Oh, no. That's sad. I mean, for parents should have been able to see what you're doing. Let's talk about a little bit about your father. We boys always have some father figure in our lives, and if they're there, was he a fashionista? Was he also a tailor? What was your father like?
Oh, my father is a cobra.
Okay.
Yes, so he's also an artist. Yes, makes shoes.
Yes.
So I think I share the talent from both sides.
Okay.
Both my parents are artists.
Okay.
Yes.
And did your father ever supported you in your journey of becoming an artist?
Yes, he did. After school, as I told you, I was in a journey of looking for a job.
Yeah.
I told him I want to know how to make. I wanted fashion, I think. Yes, I told him to do fashion, but I didn't know the entire fashion. I knew tailoring. So he got a friend who was supplying uniforms to St. Lawrence. So he connected me to him with the purpose of me learning making suits and make uniforms for St. Lawrence. So I went to Chiembe. He paid for me 300,000 to learn a coat. Yes, that's where my mind opened and I loved everything. So I ran away from the lessons and started doing my own thing. So his dream didn't happen. I never made even a single uniform for St. Lawrence.
So what did you do with the 300,000 he gave you?
I went and learned like 1 month that the basic knowledge I got for suits was enough for me to know how to make everything, bra, pants, hats, and everything. So I started doing like online books and stuff.
Wow. Well, we're talking to Ras Kasozi here. Charles Kasozi is Kaswear, if you know him, a fashion house springing out of Uganda locally here to the international fashion scene and stages all across the world. And we're going to be sharing a little bit more about Kasozi and his work. And of course, I want you to share this video far and wide. If you're a fan of Kasozi, please make sure it reaches far and wide. We're live on YouTube, House of Talent UG, of course. And, you know, go to our Twitter. It's live for those who are driving and for the upscale people to follow, you know, the story of a Ugandan man who is going around the world changing life. Kasozi, before we take a break, we want to talk about a very fascinating story you talk about here. Quite a lot of times when we're young and we're looking for money to do stuff, parents sometimes may not have the money to give us. We don't have uncles to give us. Our story in Africa is a bit different from the stories of people across the, other continents in the world. I want to know from you, and of course somebody who's watching this show either from here or a child watching in Myanmar or wherever they're watching, or in Congo where we're watched very much, would want to know, if I don't have the money and I have the passion and I have the zeal and I have the drive, but money is also needed to start it, how do I start? Where do I go? At least for you, your father gave you 300,000 to go and do a course. We don't know whether you spent the whole school fees or you only spent 1 month, took part of the school fees. What happened? How did you start, your fashion? Did you get money from somewhere? How should one start if I want to start? And I was like, Kasozi.
I think we should try to be close to people who love what we do, basically. Because even me, I managed to skip from that low level to another level because I had networks. Yes. Just me and Mia meeting Gloria Wavamuno changed my mind. Because I used to be Muyayo on the street. So someone introduced me to Gloria Wavamuno, that I'm good, me I didn't know. Then, I lost my phone like over 2 months. So surprisingly, I got a text from Gloria. Customers have been looking for you over the last 3 months. Then my mind was like, the daughter of a tycoon is looking for me. I was even moving on Loom Street. So that changed my mind and started respecting myself a bit. Like, somehow I'm important. If someone important
is looking for me,
that's opened my mind and started to know that I need to be serious, have a skill, have a business, and also work more with my fashion, because by then I was still an amateur. So I never had money to go to buy books, and no designer could invite me, So I got to know basically all the knowledge through Aristotle, but I couldn't afford any book. I could go open and feed the mind. I move out, I make notes before I forget.
Wow. Kasozi, I mean, right there's an art of creativity when you're talking about this thing. It's not everybody gets to that point. Ladies and gentlemen out there, we are talking to Kasozi of the, Kaswear, and he's a Ugandan fashion designer. Now you've had the first background story of Kasozi and where he comes from. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, Creative Industry will we'll continue talking to Kasozi, and we'll be able to ask Kasozi to tell a little bit more about, you know, the things he's doing now and how he ended up, you know, the first plane out of Uganda. What happened? Where did he go? And how did it feel like, you know, from the suburbs of Kampala, PG, to the rest of the world? We're going to get to know that in just a minute. Stay right there. Creative Industry Talk. We'll be right back after this break. Do you think this relationship, this new direction from France, actually should be taken serious by the Africans?
Definitely. I think if the French were not really engaged and ready to, you know, to create this new paradigm with all the young people in Africa, they wouldn't have invested so much into this whole conversation. I think what is important is really to recognize the fact that France has had a lot of trouble in Africa, given its Francophone territory in West Africa. And then it had also had a lot of disconnection from the Anglophone, the Russophone, and the Spanish-speaking African countries. So when you find the investments that France make in the Francophone Africa are not the same investments or opportunities that are in the Anglophone Africa and the Russophone Africa, when we talk about the Portuguese-speaking African countries like Mozambique and Angola. So they are realizing that, okay, if we have people in Africa, they're not only living in the Francophone African countries, but they're also living in the Anglophone countries. And I think the strategy here, this is my observation, is that it's not that it's going to be a direct government engagement with young people. No, I think that's why they brought in, you know, partners like INPay, which is an investment agency. They brought in like AFD, which is the French development agency. They brought in Organization of Francophonie countries. They brought in Institut Français. These are the gatekeepers. These are the people who are going to be dealing with us, the young people. And the conversations were about, okay, what is AFD doing? And for me, it was very interesting to find that we've known AFD as a development agency for France, but investing in big businesses, infrastructure, roads, government, and projects, but they had never thought about the creative industry. And for them to have this conversation, influenced by the French policies on how to engage with the new Africa, and also realizing that their politics has not worked, but the many young people now are taking over in Mali, in Gambia, they are realizing that these young people, they don't know what's going on with them. They need to get to tap into their knowledge and see what's going on in their head so that they can also understand them as well as support them.
My biggest reason why I started the CD show was the force and the lack of an identity in Uganda, and also a community that can bring the designers together. It all started from these good designers I always meet, and they don't have support. You look at someone is so excellent, but imagine working from home. Others are working from boys' quarters, others are working from garages. So basically, when I add up all these creative people I see, we have no reason why still Uganda is recognized by his regime. If we have these creative people, why don't we promote them for the country to grow? We need to celebrate our own talent. So when I bumped into this American embassy diplomat, I pitched her and she loved the idea. That's how the partnership started. Though the biggest challenge we're having now, we lack space. Sometimes the embassy provides us with space. Our vision basically is to create a community of designers and to identify Uganda's fashion. We need to see a generation where designers look at the environment and turn it into garments so that anywhere in the world someone can recognize that this fashion is from Uganda. We started by a small number in 2014. We're looking up to a bigger number because we have so many designers, but the facilitations we have can't manage us to accommodate the biggest number. We started by hosting our event at US Ambassador's residence. Then after we welcomed the Kampala Fashion Week on board. And then for the third year, we welcomed Baimba International Music Festival. Though now we're looking up to having our dream event and get all the networks in the industry. We've been working with some local volunteers from the industry, but since the number grows, we again need more trainers to help the designers. Our dream is to discover new designers and give them fashion and design skills. We also dream to have a fashion curriculum and a structure where these designers could meet for knowledge, which they can also pass on to the next generation.
Welcome back from the break. This is the Creative Industry Talk. My name is Eddie Okila, and this particular show today we're talking to a young man from PG, the central part of Buganda, who is a fashion designer. Ras Kasozi, aka actually known as Charles Kasozi, is a Ugandan boy who is a fashion designer. And of course, you've had the first part of the show when we're talking to Kasozi about his background and how, you've been able to go across the world. Welcome back to the program, Kasozi. I know we talked about the background, and I like so far the story. It's very authentic, how it comes out, and how you got inspired into the fashion industry. The story with Wavamuno's daughter is quite a very amazing story right there, that somebody texts you and then you're able to realize, oh wait, I'm actually important. If Gloria Wavamuno is looking for it, means that there's certain value that she gives me which you are not giving to yourself. That in itself is a plus, going forward. Mr. Kasozi, would you tell us a little bit more about the journey from the local scene of fashion design here to the international stages that you've been able to go,
It's been quite challenging, but it takes self-confidence. Yes, from the start you need to know what you want. Like me, I've been an artist, like I'm born an artist. Though not knowing which direction, I've tried all kind of art. Yes, and I always apply too much art in my fashion. Though as we grow, meet different people, and they tell you more about what you do. That's why I always say we need to be close to people who understand our vision. Yes, people who can support what we do. For example, my first international platform, by then I was working with Babaluku, Bavubuka All Stars. Yes, I was part of it.
Yes.
and for him is from this international scene. So he grabbed all my photos and applied unknowingly. Yes, because he knew I couldn't understand that. So he applied after. He told me, Kasozi, you have a passport? I said, yes. Then he chilled it. He told me, yeah, next month, you're coming here. I couldn't believe that, of course. Yes, I know he was just encouraging me to work hard because I couldn't know that I deserve that or I can be part of that. Because I was even the first African to be to Vancouver Fashion Week. And Ugandan, you get coming from the ghettos. I was working from this corner. You get like a smaller place, paying 50K a month. You get so that wasn't my platform. So when it reached to 2 weeks after working on all the papers, told me you go to Canadian consulate and ask for visa fee. There, I got to that is. I think it was a month before, I started to panic that it was serious. And with that month, I had to spend 2 months from Kenya processing the visa. You know, in our mindset, too many visa tebazigaba. And with art, you work with motivation. So every time I could try to get a piece of paper to sketch, I could get nervous, think of a visa, I failed. Till after the 2 weeks, I got my visa and I started sketching. I remember I did my sketches even from the bus as I was coming back from Kenya. When I reached home, I started sleepless nights, I made my collection in two weeks. That was 48 pieces. One person.
Wow.
And a miracle happened to me. I had to fly 3 days before the fashion show. And I planned to finish on that exact day. So accidentally, I didn't know, I left here the same date. I spent 18 hours on the way and I reached the same hours I left here. You get so I advanced like
24 hours.
Yes. So I got that extra day to finish my stuff. But that changed my mind so much because I reached to Vancouver and they always go through your work. If it doesn't reach that standard, you don't showcase. I was on a big panic. But models showed me that I've passed that. Models were grabbing, fighting for my pieces. I never even wait for
from the local stage in Uganda here. To now model fighting for you, and this was your biggest stage. How many stages have you been in Uganda before this opportunity to go to Vancouver by
then? I think I'd done two. I'd showcased to Silk and Bayimba.
So first was Bayimba and then Silk.
Then my third was international.
Wow.
And on that show, I tend to be among the top 3 designers. And I was showcasing with Michael Kors, So after that, people loved my collection so much, and I got another opportunity to showcase my collection again. I remember they were launching some electric car. Yes, they had produced. So I was their entertainer. So I loved the tour so much, and it changed my mindset because the love I got there, I never had it here. So I was like, why my home people convincing me? So I came back very tough with another mindset. Fighting for myself.
I want to know from you, this is a very compelling story. If you're following the show, it's a Creative Industry Talk right here on House of Talent Television. My name is Edio Killer, and Kasozi is in the studio, or Kasozi Charles, who is Ras Kasozi, is on the program, and of course we're talking about his journey to the national, from the national here, from the local stages in Uganda to the international platform in Vancouver, Canada, and that's a very fascinating story right there. Again, earlier on you talked about we need to surround ourselves with people who will inspire us. I want you to take us back. You are now in Canada. You have been, loved, and you came back with a different mindset altogether. Did you earn money, or money wasn't a biggest motivator at that point?
For them, it's automatic. It's the system. It's not about me.
Yes.
It's about the system.
Yes.
It's like however much you want to travel to Iganga without paying, the system is, they need your ticket in the bus, you get.
Yes.
So for them, they know the system, that fashion is a business.
Yes.
After showcase, for example, what happened to me after showcase, I thought, as usual in Uganda, after showcase, you pack your stuff in a suitcase, you go home.
Yes.
But for them, after showcasing, they had to announce my pop-up shop.
Yes.
Yeah, they got a big shop. I got a day. They put everything they had aside and display my stuff.
Yes.
So people came and purchased everything. And I love the way they did it. They were asking me, like I had a manager that time.
Yes.
She was called Christine.
Yeah.
She asked me how much this jacket, and then she had to teach me, now, in Canada, you can't sell something from the runway, $300. That's very cheap.
Yes.
Yeah, like expenses are here high, and also the platform, you get.
Yeah.
So it helped me, she helped me to price.
Know the pricing,
yes. She did that, so I gave her the authority to do everything for me. And people were even booking before, they were testing us.
Yes.
I'm coming for this jacket, I'm coming for this skirt, you get. So it was really, really nice, and I sold everything. When you're flying, you always have your shopping list.
Yes.
I had my budget here, sewing machine, camera, you get. I got everything I wanted.
Yes. And so you came back from one chance given to you by the one and only philosopher. We call him the hip-hop philosopher, Baba Luko. You came back with this money back to Uganda, and you had everything you needed. Kasozi, let's talk about, how did you meet Baba Luko, by the way?
As a youth, I never had friends, like basically when I was growing, like, our mom used to try to tell us, like, as we're poor and it's okay. In this world, there are those rich people and then poor people.
Yes.
You get, so for us, we are born that way.
Yes.
And we shouldn't be struggling for
things that are for rich people.
You get.
Yes.
So I was very satisfied with my life. And I used to spend a lot of my time from home, within the house. Yes, doing the art, drawing, working with a machine. But accidentally, I went to Laba. No, there was a festival at Kololo. I don't remember the name. WAP used to be called WAP.
Yes, WAP, yes. WAP by the British Council, yes.
And I met these creative people, kids. But look, had those kids rapping, painters, you get. And I said, I need to be part of this. So I met the team leader. Team leader told me, come to Machinje. What was there? So I went to Machinje. I met him. I think I used to go there every week. I went there for a month. And I was just doing nothing. Kids were rapping, painters were doing painting. Me, I didn't know that I have even a talent. Till I said, I think this was going to chase me away. Every time I come, I just sit here. One day, I said, I think let me try to make a jacket. I didn't know that's even important or what. I started to make I went to a window. I got a very cheap jacket and stitched his face here. Like I have the ability to do portraits using a sewing machine. When I reached to the...
You stitched Baba Luko's face?
On a jacket I'd made. Everyone was very happy and amazed about what I did. So that's how I got also...
From the background of being there, just waiting.
I didn't know that...
Yes.
I know how to do repairs and making some small things, but didn't know that it was nice or what. So, you know, as a creative person, Babaloku, so you will come to me, yeah, now, you know, I've done this, you can do this, and everyone was coming, other youth. That's how even I got even my brand name from there. So we used to have someone doing graphics came and say, Kasozi, now, you can swear, and let me make for you a logo, you get, and I got a brand name. Rappers used to come and tell me, yeah, you got to make for me shorts and stuff, you get. So I got the love and to know that, yes, fashion is good, and now let me settle to this.
Wow, wow. Well, if you're following the Creative Industry Talk anywhere across the world, Eddie Okyla, Ras Kasozi here. We're talking about Ugandan fashion to the international fashion stage. What a story right there coming from Ras Kasozi. Charles Kasozi is his real name, as a Ugandan born, a Muganda by tribe from the central part of Uganda. Your story is very fascinating, Kasozi. I'm enjoying the show with you today, and this is a very interesting creative industry talk. I want to just encourage everyone out there, you know, just, you know, go on there and share the story of Ras Kasozi far and wide, and make sure that there is so much love coming to this brother, and go and buy. And of course, I want to give a big shout out to my brother from another mother, Baba Luko. This is like the coolest story I've heard from Baba today of changing the life of Mr. Ras Kasozi. Rasta, let's talk about this, you know, learning from the international. You are now in Vancouver. You have learned something. Did you learn something from there? What did you pick from Vancouver when you came back to Uganda? You were able to say, you know what? I've learned this. I want to do A, B, C, D. And so my question to you is, did you learn from the international fashion stages? And what were the challenges that when you came back, you were able to fix?
Basically, I was different. I think by the time I came back, my name was everywhere. Yeah, everywhere, everywhere. So by the time I landed here, I had to do so many interviews, and I never had experience into that. So my life started to change a bit, and I don't like the celebrity life. You get my life.
Because you were told you were poor, you should stay this side. Now you are being,
yeah, you have to dress this, do this. And it's not my thing, you get. So I love to keep a low profile, but I got to know the value of fashion, because they took me around so many shops and so many designers, international designers. Everything was different. So I was like, why at home they're not doing this? So what came into my mind was to focus much on the international platform, because I'm loved there more, and I have a lot of clients outside Uganda than
you are in Uganda.
Yes, so so to me, I'm so much into developing youth's talent in Uganda and getting money from outside. Yes, so I learned that in Uganda, maybe fashion is still starting, it's still young, yes. The way we take fashion is not the way it's taken outside there. It's a big business, and here it's about talent. You get? Yeah, the same thing I've told you about fashion shows here. Fashion shows are about entertaining. You like perform. But see, outside there, every year, brands come up with trend and they have to launch them. After launching them, they sell the copies.
And that becomes what we wear as fashion in the world, all across the world. I mean, Kasozi, that's a very interesting learning. You know, did you face any challenges along the way?
I was super excited. I think I was young and people loved me so much. So I was just receiving, learning everything. I remember I used to tell them, like they used to make joke out of me. I never wanted to drink water. Like they know, for them water is life. And with me, I used to know I take water because I'm poor. Now I'm in Canada, I don't take water. I totally refuse to take water. And they were making fun of me.
Wow.
But the biggest challenge was, how do you leave Canada and come back to Uganda? You get, whereby now you have learned, and what you have learned doesn't work back home. You get, so it's two ways: you leave it, or you challenge yourself. You get, so now we're having the internet. So I live here, but try to make sure I'm connected to the world.
Wow. Thank you so much, Kasozi, first of all, for that moment. And thank you very much, everybody who's watching the show from all across the world. Thank you for being part of the Creative Industry Talk, growing bigger and better. We're going to take a break. And when we come back, Kasozi will tell us a little bit more about the new program is doing called the SEED program, which video we're actually going to play right now. And of course, what are the advice that he can give to the young people who have not been able to, get opportunity like him, or who are looking for such opportunity like, Baba Luko gave to Kasozi to go across the world. But also, we would want to know from him, which other stages has he been to since, the Vancouver, experience and the collaboration that have been happening. Stay right there. Creative Industry Talk. We'll be right back after this break.
I don't care.
itaranto hariho umutware yaratunze cyane afite n'abagaragu kera kabaye agira uruzinduko mu kindi gihugu ahamagara abagaragu be maze abasigira ubutunzi bwe amuhita arane eshanu undi amuha ebyiri undi amuhita arane imwe itagirira kabiri maze umutware arazinduka maze babagaragu batangira gukoresha za carano nk'uko shebuja yazibasigiye uwahawe shana aragenda arazigenza agenzura amesha hano uwahawe ebyiri nawe abigenza atyo agenzuramo ebyiri maze wa wundi wahawe imwe aragenda acukura icobo ayishamo ya tarano aratinyuka arayitabaye nuko imitsi irahitindira ataha maze shebuja mu kuzindukuruka abarana nabo ibyo yabasigiye uwahawe shana araseruka ati databuja mwiza wansigiye shanu uzungutse izindi eshanu uwahawe ebyiri nawe araseruka ati databuja mwiza wansigiye ebyiri zungutse izindi ebyiri shebuja ati bagaragu banje beza nuko kuko mwakiranutse muri bike nico gitumye mbekurira byinshi ico nimuze mwinjire mu munezero wa shobuja maze wa wundi wahawe itaranto imwe itagiriye kabiri adatera hejuru azayivovuta cyane ati databuja narinzi kuri umunyamwaga usarura utabibye na munagane itaranto narayitabye mu butaka dore ngiyo ufata ibyawe maze shebuja aramusubiza ati mbe mugaragu mubi niko wamunyabutewe esi ni wari ukwiye kuyiha abagenza maze nkasangaho inyungu yayo nuko shebuja arayimwambura ayigabira wa wundi wungutse itaranto 10 igiye mu zindi agira 11 kuko ufite wese azongererwa ariko udafite azanyagwa n'utwo yari afite maze wa mugaragu mubi baramuboha bamujugunya mu mwijima hanze azize ubupfapfa mbega agahinda we itaranto yawe yikoreshe neza igira umumaro mu gihe gikwiye itaranto yawe yikoreshe neza igira umumaro mu gihe gikwiye mbese gufasha abakene gusura abarwayi ibikorwa by'urukundo gushigikirana imirimo myiza igihe twahawe aya mafaranga nizo tarantu twasigiwe ngo zigire umumaro igihe tukiriho itarantu yawe iyikoreshe neza igira umumaro mu gihe gikwiye itarantu yawe iyikoreshe neza igira umumaro mu gihe gikwiye
It is a Creative Industry Talk. Welcome back to the program. My name is Eddie Okila, and in the studio we're talking to Ras Kass of the Kass Wear. His name is actually Charles Kasozi. He's a Ugandan fashion designer who has been able to leap out of Uganda to the international world. What a story right there, Kasozi. Welcome back to the program. You know, most people get there, make money, or do the fashion, or do the performance, and then usually those who connected them to this kind of stages usually take the money. In your story, you had a manager, and we have not seen anywhere where you're talking about your money being taken, or you sold the first piece and you never got the money, you came back here just the way you left, but you came back with everything. What did that tell you about the one who gave you the platform, Babaluko? He didn't take the money from you. He did not copyright the work or trademark whatever you had gone with, you know, as a fashion designer. What advice or what learning did you pick from there that you can share with the young people?
I think that wasn't much of my focus. In fact, I never wanted the money. What I got was just enough for me. But you know, when you're in this partnership, and himself knew I'm bigger than that because we're just starting. You get, it's like cutting a tree you're standing on. You get, so that was just a beginning. I think he couldn't take that little money. It was our capital to go far. You get, But I think he is still in life. We all need that management bit. We can't do everything by our own, as long as you work with the right person.
Okay. I have a question for you, Kasozi. Let us talk a little bit more about the other platforms that you've been able to go to. That was not the only stage that you've been able to go to. You've been able to go to many other stages all across the world. Could you share quickly the experiences and how many stages have you been through across the world, and what have been your experience as we move towards your new thing of teaching the young people, you know, fashion?
I think experience is different according to the country and according to the year. You get, I used to be excited, but now it's more of work. You get, I travel for work. But last time, years back, I used to also be excited, playing, and then meet so and so. I post so much on Facebook. They need to know, now I'm in America. They need to know. Now I'm not so much into that. I'm so much about.
Let's talk about this picture here. Where was this?
That was Kampala Fashion Week. Those were my students on the fashion show.
Yes. And let's put on other pictures and you just take us through some of these pictures. So you said you are not about now taking photos and posting pictures. Where was this?
Yeah, that was Vancouver on my second show. Okay. Yes, I'm shot there. Those were my models.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow, wow. And this one here?
Yeah, that was at American Embassy, our first seed show project with Ambassador. Very excited, so.
Yeah. And here, what were you doing?
Yeah, here, that was a summit for Still Seed Show.
Yeah.
They meet a Bryans, a very influential individual in the fashion industry. So I try to expose these younger designers to the industry because I know it's not about knowledge, you feed them, also they need that exposure, it changes their mindset. Yeah.
And here?
Here, that is the Resource Center for American Embassy. We do our workshops from there.
Okay.
Yeah, they give us space.
Okay. I wanted to ask you a little bit more about the seed project. You keep talking about the seed project. Tell us about the seed show and the fashion that you talked about and what opportunities it presents to the young people. Let's talk about it.
So seed in full is skilled, expressive, entrepreneurial designers.
Okay.
So I myself, I get so many messages on social media about teaching than even business. So I discovered that in Uganda people want to learn more and I don't have this space. So when I bumped into this diplomat from US Embassy, I pitched her about my idea. She loved it. She gave me little money for the start. She gave me a call and said, "Kasozi, we're doing this entrepreneurship week, but you left this little money, how can you use it?"
What was the little amount?
I can't share, of course, but just know it was little.
Yes.
And I thought of doing my...
Little in context of what you got in Vancouver and what you've been getting in the national stage. Is that what you meant?
On the money that makes an event.
Okay, okay.
Yes.
Continue.
So I thought of doing a collection. You saw how little it was.
Yeah.
I thought of doing a collection for my brand.
Yeah.
But then, because I had the time, I told her to give me 2 weeks to think about it. I remembered, but I'm having these people calling me for lessons and stuff. Then that gave me an idea to start a project that mentors young designers. So this project is always about shifting the younger designers to another level. We focus much on different activities like talent search, inspiration sourcing, idea development, self-confidence, financial literacy, basically all that. So I get these designers and we camp. I be with them, we get connected. They ask me questions, we learn, we share ideas, and at the end, we exhibit with the purpose of introducing them to the industry.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what opportunity do you think this seed show and the training that you have present to the young people and the younger, fashion designers coming that may never have got an opportunity to go to some top fashion, colleges or universities, but they're having it from the first-hand experience of also another young man who has come out from them and will be able to do great stuff?
I think youth should join SEED because it changes their mindset basically. I use this as my example, and I didn't know that I could also make it this big because of my background. Yes. But I believe we all can if we get the exposure. So I'm so much into sourcing these established people. They meet them, they mentor them, and they get to know, if, for example, working with the American Embassy, you get some of them, it's their dream just to enter the American Embassy. They go in an American Embassy, they meet these diplomats, and they feel very proud, you get. So that's how we started. And also working with Kampala Fashion Week, people meet designers, they are down, they never dream to meet this high, but their work meets the standard. Yeah. So we work much with the mindset and also originality. You know, in Uganda, most of the ideas designers get are sourced from the internet, and they kill their ability to develop concepts. Yeah. So I'm so much into teaching them, how do you look at this coffee and make a garment? Okay. How do you listen to this sound and make a garment? Yeah. How do you look at someone crying on a street and make a garment? So I give them, I awaken this ability to them to be able to develop a garment inspired by their own creativity. For example, this year we did a camp from Lunkulu. Yeah. We gathered there, we stayed there for weeks and learned all these things. Yeah.
Okay. Wow, wow. So you've had it there from Kasozi about the opportunities that the Seed Show project that is running with American Embassy presents to you. If you're a designer out there, a young designer out there, or a creative mind out there, Creative Industry Talk program exists for people like you, to bring people like Kasozi to share their experiences with us, but also to expose our works to different, markets that can allow us to be able to sell to them, and a platform that is given to every creative mind to come in and meet people like Kasozi, meet people who are policymakers, and we have a collaborative ideas as we expose our work out there. That's what this program is all about. Kasozi, thank you very much. We've got into the last part of the show where we're going to have to wind up. Our time is fast spent, but I want to talk to you about any advice that you can leave us with to the young people.
Yeah, a little before that, like right now, I'm working with the Baimba. Yeah, I started with American Embassy, but now I'm working with Baimba, and we're having something very exciting for next year. We're building a curriculum and a serious course for these young designers, whereby we're going to be focusing on a certain group for 3 years. Yeah, we go in stages, like semester 1, semester 2, semester 3. By the time you go out of the project, you're already established, or you're ready to hit the industry. Yeah, because we want now to track everyone's success in this project. Yeah. Now going back to your question, you wanted
any advice?
Yes. I think it starts with ourselves. We need to know what we want, and again we need to look for opportunity. Yeah, we need to look for people who can support us. Most people think it's money, but they can give you money and spend it all. Yeah, it's about the networks. You need to be surrounded by those very important people. That's the advice I give them, because you can't be surrounded with rich people and be poor. You can't be surrounded by knowledgeable people and you start full. You get? You can't be surrounded by creative people and you fail to be creative. So let's get surrounded by the people we dream to be like. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you very much, Kasozi, for coming to the program today, and thank you very much, everyone. We want to say we always do this on the Creative Industry Talk, where we have to bonga. So we do this and we spread love. So we're going to have to spread love from the passion of Kasozi to the rest of the people. But thank you very much for coming to the program today. We really appreciate you, and we're looking forward to having a moment with you in coming days ahead, and also with your project with Baimba. We're definitely going to pay a visit and see how that is going to work. I'm very much excited to hear that it is coming out as something that you're going to take people through in this partnership, that by the time I have come out of that place, I'm an accomplished fashion designer ready to go to the market. Thank you very much for that and for opportunity, and we're wishing you the very best in your journey of of making the world a better place with your fashion and with your dreams, and of course with your partnership with great people. Now, to all the people out there, we have come to the end of the show. Ediokila Ras Kasozi or Charles Kasozi, aka Ras Kasozi of the Casware, a Ugandan fashion designer from the local scene to the national to the international stages. I've been on the program here, and we're signing out. Until next week, Creative Industry Talk has come to an end. Edio Killer and Ras Kasozi signing out. To all our, people who make these pictures look very good, and people who make the sound come out very good, and to all of you guys who send us your kisses and disses, thank you. Until next week.
My name is Martin Anthony Nsuvuga. I'm the CEO of Uganda Retirement Benefits Regulatory Authority. And I've served the institution until now, where I've grown to the position of the Chief Executive Officer. So I've seen UBRA since its establishment.
I was also the person who started the organization as interim CEO for the organization. My role was to set up the organization, and here we are.
It has been a really new experience in my life. As you may have heard, UBRA was non-existent. There was no formal regulatory environment for pensions or retirement benefits. So we are a pioneer. We were appointed to set up the architecture and the environment for regulation of retirement benefits and pensions.
So the Ministry of Finance, because I was the technical person really handling all these reforms, they asked me to come and set up this institution, which is the Retirement Benefits Regulatory Authority. So I was requested to start as interim Chief Executive Officer, which I did from the year 2012 to early 2015. It's been a great journey. When we started from scratch.
The journey of 10 years of UBRA started with an Act of Parliament of 2011, but actual operation started in 2012, and that's why we are celebrating 10 years today.
There was no institutional setup, there were no laws, there was nothing. So we started with the legal framework, putting in place the legal framework that establishes the supervisor or the regulator for the retirement benefits sector. Before then,
UBRA came into the market about 10 years ago. The first thing they did, right from their first offices at Communications House, was to take stock of the market. Who are the players? Who are the retirement players in the market? Who are the service providers? Which schemes are operating in the market? Service to note that there was already something happening in the market, even before UBRA came to play.
And because of that, there were Ponzi schemes, there were frauds and all those kind of things. There was no trust in the sector. So our primary objective was to build a system that would instill confidence in the general public.
I believe the journey has been very successful. We have a footprint now in the community, and that footprint is best exemplified by the growth of the pensions sector. When we were appointed, the pension sector savings were less than 5 trillion. Today they're approaching 20 trillion.
A number of proposals were carried to Parliament, and the biggest one was to actually put in place a sector regulator.
My role as a Member of Parliament when I came in 2001 was to make legislation. And one of the laws we have made is the UBRA Act, which basically came in to assist how to regulate the retirement pension funds, which were missing in this country. I'm proud that now we have over 19 trillion shillings in the pension fund. That's a very good contributor to national development. And in the future, I'm sure this money we shall not go to borrow. We shall use this money of the pension fund to really develop our country.
You would appreciate that this is not a small contribution for a sector that was not regulated. But overall, it was part of the global reforms that we are seeing in other countries in the pension sector.
To me, that's a plus for the authority. And you can imagine in a very short time, in less than 10 years, we have over 19 trillion. It believes that within the next 5 years, we should be over 40 trillion.
To me, that is a plus for UBRA and a surety for the people of Uganda who save with these different schemes, knowing that somebody is there making sure that my money that I put in any scheme is safe, is protected.
So one of the main objectives was to safeguard the interests of the members. Now what this means is that the moment members' interests are safeguarded, their rights are protected, it then boils down to growth of the sector. Now, what we've seen in the last 10 years is that the sector, the assets under management have more than tripled. So within a span of 10 years, we're seeing a lot of efficiency in terms of members are able to get their benefits, they're able to access more information about their schemes. More importantly is the professionalism that has been injected in the sector.
There has been a deliberate effort to build trust because the foundation is strong, it can be trusted. And again, the investment structures are very solid, so which means they encourage the growth of the market, the growth of the portfolio, and also provide the positive returns that we see to date.
The last one that is significant, which I've seen UBRA doing, is promoting transparency. So to a member, that information creates trust within the member because you are saying, there's nothing I'm hiding. This is how we run the scheme in the year. There were 13 meetings, and this member of the board, out of 13, he attended 3.
In the saving schemes, there was no trust, there was no confidence, there was a lot of risk. Even the savers could not know how much their contributions were. Okay? In other words, everything was in a disarray without any regulator.
I think as well, looking generally at the business environment, you rarely now see complaints of people stating that the funds that they thought they had in their names have disappeared or have been paid to the wrong person. And all this is just because of the supervisory role that UBRA has brought in, which has been pivotal in making us run a world-class pension sector in Uganda.
There are 3 parts to any pension system. There's the contributions or collections of pensions, there is the management of the pensions or the investment of these pension savings, and then there's the payment of these pension savings, either through a lump sum or through monthly payments. We have had a shared responsibility with UBRA for the past 10 years in the aspect of management of the savings through investments because many of the fund managers whom we license are also licensed by UBRA. Although UBRA focuses a lot more on the pensions or the retirement savings that they manage. So we have done this role together, we've had this shared role. The synergies we have drawn from this partnership have been very beneficial, and we look forward to continuing to work together with UBRA in the future.
We see growth in number of schemes in this market. Today we are talking of 65 schemes. In the past we are talking of 3 schemes that were established by an Act of Parliament. That is the Public Service Pension Scheme, the Parliamentary Pension Scheme, and the NSSF, all of them established by an Act of Parliament.
More importantly is to say that the journey that UBRA has walked over the 10 years have been challenging, but also refreshing in a sense that they came into a virgin market. There was no regulator before them, especially in the pension sector. So what they started with was commendable. Let's do a stock taking. Let's understand the market.
Funds. We've also not had any poor investments because investments are all known, structured, in particular known asset classes that provide a very good return to the member. And actually in this period in time, that's when the sector has witnessed high returns to the members, double-digit returns for the last 5 years or thereabout.
So, in my opinion, that is trust from the general public that we are doing the right thing, and we hope that we continue to do that.
In the next 10 years, what I would like to really see going forward is the spread of coverage, because the pension sector as it is now is really in the formal sector. And when you look at the working population of Uganda, if you even put it at around 20 to 25 million, the working population, not even 3 million are covered by pensions.
I think my main message to Ubra is, first of all, to thank the CEO, Mr. Martin Nsubuga, and his team for supporting the pension reforms that have taken place so far, but also to remind the team that there's still some work to be done. It's not over, there's still some reforms that need to be done, particularly in the area of limiting access to long-term savings. So Martin and team, please don't rest. There's still some more work to be done to grow the domestic savings base of this country.
We feel that as a committee, UBRA needs to make itself more visible in Uganda, place itself, let the people of Uganda know what they are doing, let the people of Uganda know why they should save for retirement.
If you were to ask me, what should UBRA's next 10 years focus on? I would say that UBRA's next 10 years should be to now build this 20 trillion asset base that has been generated, should actually be able to ensure a comfortable life in retirement for all members who are in the retirement schemes. But UBRA should also then allow and come up with mechanisms to support the players to be able to onboard all the smallholders, all the informal sector to come in and secure their retirement by participating and joining the licensed pension schemes in the market.
And so my thinking is that we need to support the institution, particularly Parliament of the Republic of Uganda needs to support resource mobilization for allocation to the authority so that the authority can continue with the widening the coverage.
People now, instead of keeping money in boxes, will keep here, and it is in the financial sector, and it's easy to tap in. And the cost of money will go down, but other investment in the country will go high. And I can tell you, if you make very good regulations, we will have the support of Parliament.
I believe that the next 10 years are quite pivotal. We've gone through the best building of the industry, and right now we are at the point where we have to be tasked with generating value for our clients and exhibiting relevance over the next 10 years. I'm very, very confident. In fact, I'm really proud of the work that has been done for the last 10 years, and my imagination runs wild. What is possible for the next 10 years.
And the other key achievement that or work in progress that UBRA is trying to do, which I again encourage different stakeholders in this sector, particularly Parliament, to support UBRA, is the coming up with a national micro pension scheme. Uganda is, our economy is largely informal, and even within the cities, we have so many people who are operating informally, and yet they earn income, either daily, either weekly or monthly. They earn income in one way or the other. But if not well guided, and I think this particular scheme, the micro pension scheme, would again help reorganize our people in the formal sector to put something aside. Because if you are in our market today, if you're a road vendor today, if you're a hawker today, if you're a border today, if you're a fisherman today, you still have that energy to go nearly every day in the waters and do fishing, to go to Nakama market every morning to pick tomatoes, vegetables. But that strength with time, as years come by, begins to dwindle. That means the same basket that you can carry now, you are not able to carry in the next 5 years or 10.
So our focus, what really keeps us awake when I wake up in the morning that drives my day, protection of members' funds.
So what I see going forward for the next 10 years is an organization that is efficient, that is creating value for the benefits. Efficiency meaning when I contribute, I must be guaranteed that 20 years from now, 30 years from now, when I retire, my money will be there. And ensuring that the monies that I contribute are invested in assets that will make my money grow. Not just putting in 1 shilling, and 20 years you're paid 1 shilling. When I put in 1 shilling, I should be paid 100 shillings at the end of 30 years. And that's the objective, and that's efficiency.
I think to the customer out there who might not even think they are a customer because you ride a boda, you are in the garden, you don't even have anything to your name, Ubra will find you wherever you are and will look after you because it's their mandate to look after you in retirement. And they can only look after you in retirement if you avail yourself now. And all they want to do for you is to make sure that when you hang up your boots, when I hang up this jacket in retirement, Ubra wants me to live a fulfilled life, a life bereft of poverty, a life of joy and happiness. And Ubra works with people and different entities to deliver that. As service providers, I think we'd want to say congratulations again, Ubra. We feel the heat sometimes, but we are ready for the task.
As we celebrate, let's also remember that there are those who are not yet part of the saving culture, and we find ways of bringing them forward. I wish you a happy celebration.
As we celebrate 10 years of service protecting retirement benefits in this country, allow me to thank the Board of Directors of Uganda Retirement Benefits Regulatory Authority. You have been very instrumental and very focused. Allow me also to thank the staff and management of Ubra. You have supported the cause. Allow me also to thank my predecessors, the first interim CEO, Mr. Moses Bekavyo, the Chief Executive Officer, my immediate predecessor, Mr. Bonyi David Nyakundi, the government of Uganda who have supported us, providing us with all the resources that we need from the day Ubra started up to now, the regulated entities, the stakeholders, the fund managers, the custodians, the administrators. Without you, we would not be talking of structures of governance in this market. And of course, the members who are saving, who have trusted us, who have continuously saved with the different schemes. Allow me to assure you that as we deliberate on this direction for the next years of service, at Ubra, we shall continue to protect your retirement benefits. May God bless you. May God bless your families. May God bless our country, Uganda. Let us celebrate as we thank God.
I want you to share with us from your experiences, you've been going quite a lot, traveling around the world and seeing these things in different...
Of Paul Cafero.